Hello. Good. Austin, actually, I haven't been here in a year. I missed one. Yeah, I missed last month's meeting. I was he said, I don't know what he said, but it was like,
Continue for us.
right, 626. Let's get it. Staying out of the spotlight.
I already have this.
Hello.
How you doing, Jeff? Good, how are you? Let's get it to where we can see the pavement.
Sorry, I got you up here. We still need to get light dimmers for us here with people.
Who?
Yeah, well, me, I'm like, yeah, see, we shouldn't have dimmers.
We create a strobe light effect up here.
Yeah, look, we got three, all three of us sit together, we do something up here.
Yep, active. It's like the only personality trait nobody cares about, right? You could be anything. You have one of those. I got one. Those are good. Yeah, it was good. I feel like hectic. It's just been a hectic. Yeah, I take 3 weeks off because I get like 38 days of vacation, so it's hard for me to use. But I found myself busier at home. Well, it's just boring. I have a home office, so I tend to work there quite a bit, but I stayed away from this, so it was good. Got it.
They want to go deep dive with us. Oh, I kind of totally forgot about it. It's all good. I think it's manageable. They're up here for decoration.
I'll turn one over and I'll see.
All right, it is 6:30. A call to order, the Lapeer City Planning Commission. Kim, you got roll call?
Got it.
All right, in front of you is the approval of the February 12th, 2026 agenda. What's your guys' flavor on?
I'll move the minute, or the agenda.
We got a motion on the floor to move this. Any support?
Support.
We got support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor vote with an aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, seeing none, motion carries. All right, in front of you are the minutes held on the regular meeting of January 8th of 2026. What y'all want for this one?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held on January 8, 2026, as presented.
And we have a motion on the floor. Any support?
Support.
We got support. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote with an aye. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. All right, now we go to public comments. This is a time where the public can address the commission. If they do so wish, please state your name and address, and then you can address the commission, and you have 3 minutes.
Ann Shank,
What's up?
apartment 105, 1710 Rustic Drive, Lapeer Villas Apartments. First of all, this is my first opportunity with the weather to be here. I want to thank you, Mayor, for your approach to transparency and how things are done. Had that happened, you would have 2 different commissioners still sitting up there on the planning commission. But no thanks to some behind-the-scenes manipulation, we were forced off. Secondly, I was the co-chair for the Housing and Land Use Task Force in the Lapeer 2000 project. And one of the goals out of that was to increase the housing, available housing, especially trying to target to middle, upper income. Obviously, we haven't been able to accomplish that goal because our city manager hasn't even bought a house in the county, let alone the city. He's bought a house in Grand Blanc, which happens to be noted for middle, upper income. So I have some concerns about what kind of projects, housing, go into place. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Before we go, Ben?
Yeah, this portion of the meeting, public comment portion, is for items not on the agenda. So if you're here tonight to speak about the Brookwood North development, we're gonna have a public hearing for that, so that's our next agenda item, and then we'll open that up to public comment. Please, if you do make a comment, please sign in with your name and address on the podium here. Thank you.
And we'll get yours.
I got it.
Okay, good.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
may I just ask for clarification, the public comment time, if they do speak on something in the public hearing, that's their discretion as well. But they also have time for that topic during the public hearing,
Okay.
correct?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, any more public comments? Seeing none, I will close public comments. And now we will go to our public hearing schedule. And number 1 item on the list is the Brookwood of Lapeer preliminary site condominium plan. Go ahead, you take it away.
Yeah, I think I'll start, and then we'll go applicant, and then hopefully that'll address some of the concerns that we get in public comment, but absolutely, all public comments are welcome regardless.
Thank you, Ben.
So tonight, we've got a public hearing for a preliminary site condominium plan review process. So this process follows our condominium ordinance, not our zoning ordinance, so it's a little bit different from our traditional site plan review process or something like this. So these site condominium reviews first go through a preliminary review phase, and then they go through a final review phase. For the preliminary review phase, the Planning Commission makes a recommendation to the City Commission, and then the City Commission has final decision. For the final site condominium plan review process, that only lives at the City Commission, so this is really our one chance as the Planning Commission to get a look at this development here tonight. This development is titled Brookwood of Lapeer North. This is an expansion project to the existing Brookwood of Lapeer neighborhood that is just to the south of these proposed parcels. The applicant is Mr. Aaron Besmer on behalf of Allen Edwin Homes. And the project proposes 112 single-family homes in a true neighborhood-style development. So to introduce us to the project a little bit more, I'm just going to read a few lines from our memo here. So as I stated, this is an expansion project to the existing Brookwood of Lapeer single-family neighborhood. The project proposes to construct 112 new single-family lots and then associated homes. In addition to home construction, the plan set proposes to expand on the existing street and utility network present for the existing Brookwood subdivision to the south. And furthermore, a drainage detention basin and an area of open space are proposed. And within that area of open space, walking paths are proposed, along with a playground and a recreational field. So here's a clip of what these parcels look like today from our county GIS resource. So it's 2 parcels that this development is proposed on. The parcel dividing line between those two is right here. It's a little misleading though, because the applicant is proposing this to kind of be their development boundary. So this is the project will have homes in this area of the site. The project will have an ingress egress from Millville Street right here into the new development. And then the detention basin will be proposed right here. I'll show that in more detail on a few more slides. But this development doesn't necessarily follow these existing parcel boundaries, but we will work with the applicant to modify these parcel boundaries. There's our existing condition sheet. Vacant farm field with some vegetation on it currently. These two parcels are zoned R2 single family. So while we are following the condominium ordinance for this review process, the condominium ordinance does direct us back to the zoning ordinance to verify R2 zoning district standards for things like lot size and buildable area and setbacks. So it's important to keep in mind that the zoning of this parcel is indeed R2. And then you can see all this white on our zoning map surrounding these R2 parcels. And that is because this land that you see colored is within the city of Lapeer. And the land that is white, or you can't see on this map, is not in the city. Most of it's in Mayfield Township. So here is kind of the main site plan sheet that we've gotten from the applicant so far. You can see, as I described earlier there, they're proposing a curb cut on Melville Road to grant site access to the new development. In addition to that site access, they're also proposing to expand on the existing road network that is present right now for the Brookwood development. The utility network will more so follow the utility network will follow the proposed road network. So we've got utility mains planned kind of along anywhere where you see a street. And then leads will obviously go off to the east and the west, to the north and the south, to each of these lots. And then right here, kind of in the center of that development, you can see that shared green space called out as a naturalized meadow. We'll see some more details on that in a few more slides. Here's a great overall image that shows kind of everything that's proposed within this construction project. That first image that we just looked at didn't really show the detention basin up here. So here, once again, we've got all 112 lots, and then we've got that shared green space, and then we've got the detention basin up here that would be to the east. Here is the landscaping plan that was submitted by the applicant. So you can see in this naturalized meadow, shared green space area, quite a bit of landscaping is proposed. Most of these dark circles are, some of these dark circles are trees, a lot of them are shrubs. And then here you can see, walking along all of the streets, there's about one tree proposed per lot. And then you can see at the intersections, there's a little bit higher density of trees proposed. This current submittal does meet our landscaping requirements, so we're happy to see that. And then for that proposed basin, we've got some pretty strong landscaping requirements for proposed detention, retention, stormwater basins. So you can see here quite a bit of landscaping, trees and shrubbery are proposed to go around the perimeter of this detention basin. So we're happy to see that. That is in compliance with our ordinance. And then another thing, I believe we saw slides like this back in November when Alan Edwin gave the Planning Commission a conceptual presentation of the proposed plan. So we asked the applicant to re-include that stuff with their submittal number 2 to allow us to verify. So that's great that we saw the conceptual images, but we really like this stuff included with the site plan to verify for facade plans, to verify for attached garages, to verify maximum building height, to verify exterior building materials. So the applicant re-included all of this information, which helped to squash a lot of concerns that we had from our review number 1. So now I'd like to speak just briefly about the review process that we've taken. So as you all see, we did have an updated memo provided in front of you tonight, and that is because we received a submittal number 2 from the applicant just about a week ago, last week. So here, I'll just read off this portion real fast. So this preliminary site condominium plan and associated application was formally submitted to the city on January 7th. The city provided our review number 1 comments to the applicant on January 28th, 3 weeks later. About 1 week after that, on February 4th, the city received a submittal number 2 site plan and response letter to our review number 1. So included in your packets tonight was all of our contents of review number 1. We didn't have enough time to get review number 2 processed and included in the packets, but we did have time to review it and then share some findings with you all tonight. So these are just clips of that same memo that you guys have in front of you tonight that Kim dropped off. All of the text that you see in black is from our review number 1. So these were all items that we flagged in review number 1. And then all of the text you see in red are comments from our review number 2. Remaining outstanding items are shown in that bold red text. Items that have been addressed are kind of shown with a brief comment that says addressed. And then we've also shown some strike-through text for some comments. So this is the comprehensive list. I wanted to show that we've had a very, very productive review process so far. Very happy that the applicant was able to get a revised submittal 2 in prior to this meeting, as it did squash a lot of our concerns that we had from submittal number 1. So I'm just going to quickly breeze through these slides, and then after these few slides, I've got a summary sheet that describes all of our outstanding concerns that we still have. So once again, we can see here that one of the concerns from our assessing department was that a draft master deed was necessary to be submitted at this time. That was submitted with the submittal number 2, and then the assessor has no further comments at this time. Similarly with the fire department. The fire department had some comments on fire hydrant location and spacing, water main size, and street layout. It does appear that those comments have been addressed, and there are no new comments with submittal number 2. DPW and engineering did have a handful of comments. I'll read off what we've got from our review number 1 from our city engineer, there were outstanding comments on a variety of topics. And these topics were full engineer design information for the street system, full engineer design plan for the proposed site grading and drainage plan, same kind of thing was requested for the utility plan, further information considering coordination with County Road Commission for their curb cut, and then further information on the street and utility phasing plan. So submittal number 2, the city engineer is comfortable addressing the majority of these concerns prior to the city commission issuing final approval. So the preliminary site condominium plan requirements in the ordinance state that all information required for final approval must be required at the preliminary approval step, which we're doing tonight, with the exception of construction engineering drawings and construction permits. So when we got the submittal number 2 from the applicant, I went back to the city engineer and had a conversation and said, well, given this line in our ordinance about the preliminary process and how, fully engineered construction drawings are not really required until the final submittal process, I wanted to understand what the city engineer would be comfortable with us here tonight. If, there were some major concerns that were maybe lead to the applicant submitting more information at this time, or if the city engineer was comfortable with us passing this along to the city commission and then finalizing these engineering plans at a later date when we go for the final approval process. And the city engineer did say that he was comfortable moving forward and that most of his concerns could be addressed later on when full engineered drawings are required. However, there was one outstanding comment that he made sure that we need to address here tonight. And that is a comment here about the size of a required easement that's going to go in. The city engineer asked that that easement be made larger to incorporate city water main extended through this area. That plan was not revised at this time, but the engineer of record for the applicant added a note on their response letter that said that this would be addressed in construction drawings. That is fine. However, the location of the easement is necessary to understand as we're looking at something like site layouts, because building envelopes, obviously we can't build a building on top of a city easement, right? So if that easement needs to be made larger, then that will affect some of the building envelopes on the site. Based on my understanding of where this easement does need to be made larger, and based on the corresponding lot sizes, the opinion of your city planner is that this change will have very little impact on the existing site layout. So I'm not too concerned about it. The easement needs to be made larger by about 10 feet. Most of those lots are pretty deep where they're proposing, where that needs to happen. So I don't think that'll impact the site too much. So that's our one outstanding comment at this time from other city departments. And then I've got a few zoning related comments here that are still outstanding following our review number 2 that were shown on those few previous slides, but now I'm going to give a summary to you here. So for landscaping, a full tree survey is required. Indication of which trees exactly will be saved versus which trees will be removed is absolutely a requirement that we put every site plan through in the city, based on our ordinances. So based on tree removals, as I stated, new plantings are required. So to kind of meet us halfway on the tree survey at this time, the applicant has provided an estimate of, a very detailed estimate on where and quantities of what removals will be executed, and then correspondingly, they have described what replacements would be necessary based on our ordinance. So this is a great step in the right direction. However, a full tree survey is still required. Still need to understand exactly where trees will be removed and then where they'll be replaced. It is my understanding that it is the intent of the applicant to submit a full tree survey to us. There is a possible wetland on site. So when we see possible wetlands on site from the Eagle Wetland Mapping Database, it is on the responsibility of the applicant to reach out to Eagle to see, one, if it is a true wetland, and then two, if there will be permits required from Eagle. So sometimes Eagle will produce, it's called a letter of no permit, something like that, and it basically says, we understand the circumstances, no permit is required, period. That's something like that we'd look for here, or we'd look for, possible permitting with Eagle based on that wetland. The exterior site lighting plan is also missing from the current site plan submittal. All of the streets will obviously need to be lit. Not as concerned about the light quantities of the parking areas of these proposed homes or kind of the surrounding areas of the proposed homes, but the street network in this project will absolutely need to be illuminated. However, given that it's a residential area, we need to take extreme caution with what sort of fixtures are proposed and what the intensity of those lights will be and things of that nature. So that's why we absolutely need to see a full photometric plan for this site. And once again, similarly to the tree survey, I do believe it's the intent of the applicant to submit an exterior site lighting plan, but it has not been submitted at this time. So based on our findings, our staff findings over the last few weeks, staff recommends the Planning Commission recommend preliminary site condominium plan approval to the City Commission, contingent upon the applicant addressing all outstanding city review comments, with the exception that full construction drawings are not required at this time, kind of based on that jargon that I just described earlier. Preliminary site condominium submittal requirements specify that construction drawings are not required at this time, and full approval of the plan set is required by the city engineer at the final site condominium approval process. So one thing that I want to hit on with this staff recommendation is if the Planning Commission wants to take this staff recommendation tonight, before this preliminary approval process was in front of the City Commission, we would ensure that all of those items that we noted here, all of these items will have to be addressed before it goes to the City Commission. So at this point in time, I don't see this too different from other site plans that we've done in the past, right? They've kind of met us halfway at this point in time. They've accomplished a lot of the things that we've asked them to per our ordinances, but there's still a few things hanging out. So that is where I led us to the staff recommendation here tonight for conditional approval. Be happy to answer any questions as you all deliberate, hear from the applicant, hear from the public, provide some more information if needed.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Just to go, so we do have to address the size of the easement though, tonight, or is that kind of?
That can be included in this motion of they must address all city
Good deal.
staff
Thank you.
comments.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
so that, in my opinion, is that the impact will be very minimal.
Yeah.
So I don't think that should hold us up here.
And then that will also go along with the wetland. and-
Yep, and the landscaping stuff and the lighting, yep. So
Thank you very
flash
much.
it back to the site layout sheet here for our discussions.
Good deal. Any questions before I open up the public?
Oh, well, I had a question, but I guess I can wait until after we do our public comments if you want
Okay.
to clarify something you said.
Sounds good.
All right, I'm gonna open it up for the public hearing, I'm sorry, not comment, sorry, public hearing about the subject. Before I address any, or if somebody comes up, we do have a letter from Wes Weber at 2788 Parkshire? Berkshire? Sorry, I knew there was no Parkshire out there. You should know that. And that's in front of you, and there is copies, where at?
Right here.
Oh, right there, if anybody would choose to want one. So although that's just in front of you there, if you would like to look that over. And at this point, if anybody would like to address the city commission or the city planning commission about the subject, you can, or we can hear from the applicant first.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah,
Let's
okay,
hear from the
I'll hear from the applicant if you
I'll
guys
make
wish.
one comment.
Yes.
before we go further. So tonight, what the planning commission is tasked with doing here tonight is applying the city's condominium ordinance against the proposed site plan, right? There is nothing in the, there are a few themes that I've heard before at previous planning commission meetings, previous city commission meetings are concern of these homes being rentals and concern of the city's tax increment financing plan that could assist this development. Unfortunately, neither of those two items are at the purview of the planning commission. Those are at the purview of the city commission. So I just wanted to clarify that point. You're absolutely welcome to speak on any comments, any topics that you'd like. The planning commission really has no say in either of those two topics.
Thank you, Ben, for clearing that up. Applicants, if you guys would like to address, you're more than welcome.
My name is Aaron Bestner with Allen Edwin Homes. Thank you, everyone, for this time tonight.
Yeah.
Ben, thank you. Explanation. I would like to reiterate that everything that's on that list is in process. Brent, our civil engineer with Boss Engineering, has a few comments. I did want to mention the phasing of the project. So I think in November, we heard comments about construction traffic going through the neighborhoods and that. So how we're phasing it is really the phase one with access to Millville. And that would, we would pull whatever utilities are needed along the roadways without the road being built, and build phase one, and all the traffic would be through that access point. And then as the next phases would develop, we would do it from the phase one end, which, you know, should leave the existing neighborhoods as undisturbed as possible. So with that, Brent, if you have a few comments?
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
so-
sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, addressing just a few of the planner's comments.
Your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, Brent Levan White, and I am with Boss Engineering.
Okay.
So, the potential wetlands, so what has happened is there's only a certain window of time during the growing season that the wetlands can be identified. We're not in that season, and we actually were past it in November, December. If that is determined to be a wetland, a regulated wetland, we would just reduce the development by 2 lots. It impacts 2 lots there. We do not believe it's a regulated wetland. Our landscape architect has taken a preliminary look at it, but we will obviously be following through with the state on that. Secondly, the easement item from your engineering consultant. So all our corner lots are oversized, so we'll be able to reduce those to accommodate that easement. So I think that's a pretty straightforward item. And then thirdly, the tree survey. So our landscape architect did spend days out on site counting trees, identifying species. We didn't do the tagging with the specific tie-out, which we will do, but the tree information that's in the plan set and that was reviewed by your planner is very detailed. All that's absent is the specific location to the nearest foot, basically, of those trees. But we're very confident with our replacement number, which is 105 trees. All of those trees would be located in the proposed park area. So hopefully those answer some of the bigger questions. Obviously, I would answer any additional questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for the applicant? I see none. This is also the public hearing, so if anybody from the public would like to address us, yes, Janelle? You know the drill.
Hello, I'm Janelle Racosta. I have some concerns about this project. Some that I'm confused on what I've read and what I've heard, so I just wanted some clarity. One, out of the 112 units, to know exactly how many of them are intended to be owner occupied versus non-owner occupants. Also, what they're putting into, how much is it gonna cost them to build versus what they're selling them for. By the sounds of it and how this project works and this developer, typically they sell to like a third party that turns around and sells these as non-owner occupied properties. So the gap there between what the cost is to build them versus what they're selling them for, how is that being subsidized? I think we have a housing need in all price range in the city. So I think a new development coming in sounds great, but I think even though you guys don't have a say in exactly about the renting versus owner occupied, non-owner occupied, and what's going into it, I think to approve a project, you really need to know what the intent is. Also, the city giving the taxes back, that's a big deal, whether it's 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, I've heard all different amounts of time. Again, you have to think about if it's a non-owner occupied property, the amount of taxes they receive back are gonna be higher. Your taxes with no homestead, clearly it's in their best interest. I've heard that their intent is to sell at, as owner occupied for a certain time frame. What is that time frame? And I don't know why you guys can't have a say before you approve a project that they have to try to sell these for a certain time frame as owner occupied properties. And then if they can't, then why can't you guys put a cap on how many of them are non-owner occupied? I think, again, housing's important in our city, but I think you have to be smart on where you put your housing. I think when you have an existing $300 and some thousand neighborhood, and you come in and you put rental units in their backyard, I think you need to be aware of that. I think you need to take that into consideration. I think, again, it doesn't mean we don't need this housing in our city, but where we put it is crucial to our value of these existing properties. I live in the city. I will tell you, I wouldn't want this development going in my backyard. Doesn't mean I think there's better spots in the city for it to go, and we should provide all sorts of price range. But I think this property and what I follow from this developer is their intent is to have lease-to-own properties and non-owner occupied properties. And I think we have to look at that before you can just approve this project and say it looks great. Most importantly, like I said, the median income, I think I heard, they're gonna go buy at 60 to 80% median income. Well, somebody who's $65,000 for an income, no bills, no car payments, no nothing, what they could afford to get a mortgage would be $1,570 a month. That includes your taxes and insurance. So right away, if you're looking at that income, how is this being subsidized? That's about $110,000, maybe $120,000 house that they could afford. Again, great, we need this housing in the city, but is this the spot for it? I'm not sure. But the biggest thing is, how is it being subsidized? They're not building these homes for $110,000, $120,000. You can't build that anymore. So if they're building it for this and they're selling it, where's the gap there? Where's the money coming from? So just things to point out, things to think about. I think it's very important whether you're approving a subdivision or the site condos to be owner occupied or not owner occupied. But I really, really think it's important when you guys are approving this to consider you guys having the authority to tell them how long they have to market these properties as owner occupied and to put a cap on how many of them could be rental units or leased owns.
Thank you. One thing I forgot to mention, if you were, there is a agreement, I think you were perfectly fine on your time, but we do have a 3-minute mark of a public comment, so I forgot to mention that. So if anybody else would like to address, you can stand up and go to there, or come up here, yeah. Just state your name and address.
Sure, I will.
Yep.
Christy Ducker, my address is 1001 Lancaster Street. I'm currently the HOA president of Brookwood, the current Brookwood. So we do have a couple questions. One is that right now, why does the site plan dramatically increase the housing density compared to our current development? If you look, currently we have 14 houses across the bottom, they're going to build 21. That's a very significant difference. It's not matching the aesthetics of the current subdivision, so we're wondering why the cut and the what are the considerations being made in this being compatible with what's already there. It's also using our same name but adding north. My understanding is that it's not going to be part of our HOA, so who's maintaining those parks? Who's maintaining all of this stuff? It's connecting to our current roads and our current infrastructure. Our drainage system right now is already inadequate. It was approved, we were told it doesn't match the number of houses that are already there. We're going to be lower altitude than where that is on I believe the drainage system is up higher, so I don't know how that's going to affect us also, because we're already having problems from it not being, not working correctly. So those are some of the things. Also, we currently with the roads, we'll have increased traffic in the sub, and we're just curious, we are going to have to pay for the top coat soon. So is that going to be part of it? Because they're, again, not part of our HOA is my understanding. So, but they're gonna increase the traffic in theirs, but we still don't even have lights in our sub yet. So a lot of these things that they're improving on, they're gonna run down to us and they're not part of us, apparently, according to what I have seen so far. So just some more of the questions that have occurred so far. All right.
Thank you. Any additional?
Yeah, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
My name's Dave Robertson. I live at 1236 Millville Road. Lived there for 37 years. Can somebody please tell me the difference between saying it's a condo development and a single-family development? Because I've heard both terms used with no explanation. Anybody?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Generally, during public comment in our hearing section, we don't do a Q&A with the public, but if the
Sorry.
chair would permit, he could ask our engineer in the room, Ben, if he could
Sorry.
answer that
That's
for
the only
you.
question I had.
No, you're good, you're good, yep. And I will allow that answer.
Yeah, I think they're very similar. Maybe the applicant could help me with that one. I think I see the site condominium or the condominium ordinance as a process to permit a neighborhood, right? Whereas if we were gonna go about permitting each lot one by one by one by one and do a site plan review or something like that for each lot, that's not a very cohesive process, right? We have a condominium ordinance in place to help to allow for neighborhoods to be developed like this rather than going lot by lot by lot by lot. So I can tell you that the review process that we've taken is almost identical to if it was just one lot being developed or if it was a larger development such as this, right? The same standards have been applied across the board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben, for answering that. Any more comments?
Marty Garrity,
Yes, sir?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
2823.
you.
Marty Garrity, 2823 Traymore. We allowed to ask questions or no?
No, not necessarily, like, the definition between this, single family and condominium.
Yes.
You can address it as a question and then,
I'm just wondering, since it's a condo unit, are the two things. One, the drainage for the storm, is that gonna connect to our existing storm drain that we have? And then the second question is, since it is a condo unit, where are they gonna have their mailboxes? Are they gonna have their own mailboxes on site, or are they gonna attach to what we have, where we're at already in Brookwood? And I guess the third would be, we wanna know if there's gonna be an HOA there, and who's gonna take care of everything in that. So that's really my comments.
That was actually
Thank you,
something
sir.
I would, if I could say,
Yes.
ask the question.
Yep.
Kind of poses to Ben. I mean, I think, you try to make it look like it's similar, but really, if a developer is actually creating a condominium unit, they're actually creating an HOA. So there are gonna be regulations versus like what you would just have going and buying a lot on your own as a single family owner. So it is, I think there's a
appreciate
significant difference in the process when you're doing an HOA. So that was my question is, if it's an HOA, how is that different than the current HOA? Will those regulations be so different? Because it's a different developer than obviously when it was 20-some years ago. How will that interact with the other HOA if they're truly independent?
Yeah.
So that was one of the questions I had.
It's a great question. I'm sorry to give this response. That's not within the scope of the condominium ordinance, so I didn't inquire on that. If you'd like to direct that question to the applicant, I think they might be more than happy to answer on that topic.
Okay, I would like the applicant to respond to that.
yeah. If you would like to, if the applicant would like to address that question, you're more than happy. If not, I get it, because it is not under what we are reviewing tonight.
Yeah, well, the intent would be that it's a separate HOA.
Okay.
The mailboxes actually, I'll approach the screen here. So it's a CVU, so post offices now, it's, instead of single mailboxes by every house, the post office requires like a mailbox, a bank of them, right? And so this will be a pull off here, and then you have the mailboxes think there's 60 in one bank, and you have a key for each bank.
Why isn't it a separate name?
Excuse me, no,
Oh,
it's,
sorry.
yeah, it's not, that's not, no, you're good, you're good.
What was the other question?
Drainage?
Drainage.
Oh, drainage, yeah. Everything, and Brent could answer this in more detail, but everything is independent, like the drainage. What comes off the existing would be water. I think there's water services at each end. But all the storm for this entire property that we have under control is gonna be routed that way, so it does not impact what's existing. Sanitary sewer is already through here. It runs up this way, there's actually an easement, can't see down here. We lined it up with the road and it zigzags back up to the
Yep,
northeast.
thank you very much. Also, another thing, Ben, maybe possibly take notes on some of the questions that maybe be able to get addressed. I would assume public can reach out to city manager and planning, right?
Absolutely.
And they can get some of the questions addressed.
Yeah.
If, on the back end, but we'd like, what you've said, we're here for, another part of it. So if there are separate questions, those will be noted and need to be addressed, they will be addressed, after.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the comment.
Before we go to, up here, is there any more comments from the public? Sorry. Yes, Ann?
This is a separate, original question was of the housing development already, the Brookwood, what percentage of it is actual owner, house owner versus rental? Because my understanding, only the people who live on the back side of the proposed property from the existing one were notified of the public hearing, not a larger area of people were notified. And that when their association tried to find out, they were supposed to be given that information and were not. And so I have concerns about building another conversion type setup if they already have a certain percentage of rentals where the housing properties were turned into rentals versus increasing our number of available housing units.
Thank you. Sir?
Dan Jansen, 2741 Bedford. First, I just want to thank you for actually doing some due diligence on this. Living in the first Brookwood, I mean, we got pretty much screwed because we don't have lighting, streets and stuff, so it's important to get this one right. Some of the issues that were brought up, now that you kind of know, would be having the HOA take over after to keep the commons area maintained, and then of course the mailbox structure. So I appreciate you all doing your due diligence to make sure this is actually done correctly this time. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes?
Delton Smith, 1145 Adams Street.
I'm sorry,
I
I didn't get.
D. Elton Smith, DEELTON. I'm gonna approach up here.
What was your address?
1145 Adams Street.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
So, about 2.5 years ago, I bought a piece of property right here next to where this easement goes. It's about 1 acre and 1/8. My concern is I already have a driveway culvert put in. I already have a site plan and a proposed septic for this area here. My biggest concern is now with this easement going through between my property and this house, which I plan on building, I am now gonna have to move my culvert, move my site plan for my septic, because I don't want people pulling in my driveway to pull into the new proposed area. So that's my biggest concern. And having all these lights being put up, that's gonna be lighting up my property, which is the reason I bought that, was because it's somewhat dark. So I don't want all these lights shining everywhere.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yep. Any more public comments, or before I close the public hearing? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, and now we open for discussion. I know, Doug, you had a comment or a question?
Yeah, and I don't know the best way to phrase this, so I'll just throw this out.
Yep.
You can guide me. So some of the concerns that I've heard tonight, we heard when this project was initially brought to us back in November. Several members of the current Brookwood property showed, I think they've addressed a good majority of that with rerouting, construction vehicles and whatnot. But one of the things that Janelle brought up, that does concern me. It was loosely answered the first time, and I think with regards to rental properties and how many of these homes are actually going to be individually owned, I think we were actually talking about MISHDA-approved homes at that time. So I don't know if this can be addressed formally or informally, and what I'm asking to do is just to bring it to the developer's attention that this is an ongoing concern, right? It's not the first time we've heard it. I think it would do a lot of good for both Allen Edward Homes and the public to know what the exact plans are. Putting myself in Brookwood or anywhere near there, I would be greatly concerned that my next door neighbor has no vetted interest in taking care of their home. And, we have to think about that. Now, if it's a good percentage and you have good intent and most of these homes are gonna be individually owned, I think it becomes more palpable for the city of Lapeer, for the citizens, right? So what I'm asking for, and I don't know, is this something they answered tonight, down the road? I'm just saying I would put thought into that.
Thank you, Doug. Ben, if you, I'm kind of under the impression that we're here to approve the plan and not the details of that, that aspect, right?
Yeah, you got it right. Yep, our plan here, our plan here tonight is to approve to make a decision on the site layout plan, right?
Yes.
More details like that would be best directed to the city commission.
That's kind of like how I know that it goes in front of the city commission. The city commission then would be addressing all the main concerns. Our duty as this board is you have a plan in front of you. Does it meet our requirements to go forward or not go forward?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yes, thank you for the clarification. Ben, that's my understanding as well. There are about 50% of the questions are better addressed at the city commission level once it makes it there, past this planning commission. However, there are at least half of those questions that do point directly to some considerations that this commission needs to address. The first one is the drainage, which he tried pointing out on the map, the mailboxes as well. However, more importantly for me are the roads and the lights. The lights specifically, because that's what I've been looking at inside of the plan. I don't know if we're at the stage for roads. I'm sure we'll get there, but I think at this stage, because that would have to do with the drawings that we've been talking about inside of the packet,
Yeah.
and that's still yet to get to that stage. So, but we are at the stage of the lights, and that is one of the checklists of the items that need to be addressed inside of number 2 that were not addressed in number 1. When I look at the packet that we had postponed once already with number 1, provided that to give the applicant more time to address all is how it's stated in here. But I'm looking at a packet in a site plan number 2 that isn't addressing all. And the request is to move forward regardless under condition. I personally just don't feel comfortable with that because we're listening from homeowners tonight in the other Brookwood that don't have adequate lighting or properly planned lighting and don't have roads. And I'd like to know, what process was skipped or fast-tracked and what conditions were given or promised and weren't met and somehow made it to the next step and then the next step, and then we have what we hear today inside of our community. And I'd hate to make that mistake twice. And so, I'm kind of directing the question at you in some respects.
Sure thing.
So the promise is, these are conditions. But I just, given the history of things right now, I don't feel comfortable with conditions. I would feel more comfortable with, we said all comments to be met. And that's what we should approve. That's just my position on it. Do you have anything to remark on that? I understand that you're saying these will be promised, but who's gonna check that?
Yeah.
So when we talk about the 50% of the questions that are better suited for the city commission versus the planning commission, right? But then we're leaving some questions here at this commission unanswered upon condition, and then we're throwing the onus passing the buck onto the city commission. And that's not their area of oversight, right? Maybe expertise, I don't know, but it's not their area of oversight. It's ours. So we're gonna give them an incomplete approval and then make them track down whether or not those check boxes got checked by the time it hits their desk. And I don't like doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, so what, if I could envision the process that would be taken if a conditional approval was issued tonight. Like I said earlier, all of those items that we noted as outstanding must be fully addressed before this plan is presented to the city commission, if we go with that recommendation. I can say that I personally or another planner will review those requirements against the zoning ordinance, against the condominium ordinance. So specifically for lighting, we'd look at fixture positioning, and then we'd look for a photometric plan that would show how far the light will spill. If one light is proposed, there's gonna be light that is accumulated all around an area from that light proposed. So the applicant would be required to give us a full photometric plan which shows lighting values. So I think to best answer your concern is that it would stay with the planner until all of the planning concerns are addressed. And then it would move on to the city commission where, we can, the planner's done their work and now the city commission can deal with other, matters that are applicable to that approval.
Okay.
Right? And I can also say that I think this is pretty traditional. I would say that sometimes we normally see a more complete lighting plan, sometimes we see a more complete tree survey, but when we have a development of this size that takes up this much engineering need, this much architectural drawing, there are bound to be things missed by the developer. I've been doing this for 4 years. This is very traditional that the developer gets to 85 or 90% of the things completed, but not 100% at the time of board review. So I would say that as your professional planner, I have no concern with making sure that these requirements satisfactory to the ordinance. But it's absolutely within the purview of the planning commission to maybe make a postponement, and then I would be able to present those findings to you all, for you all to see as evidence that, hey, we've done the required steps, we've, agreed with the plan against the zoning ordinance, the condominium ordinance, absolutely within your purview. It's my recommendation that that list is small enough that it can be handled administratively.
Understood. All right, thank you. I think that's a good answer. However, I still feel like it skips procedural steps, right? So, we could conditionalize an application till we're blue in the face and put all the onus on you rather than the applicant or the developer to get it right here and have this board approve, what you've confirmed.
Absolutely.
Procedurally correct so that we can ensure that human error doesn't occur. As you stated, that developers often only make it 80–90%, and there's a lot that goes into this. I'd hate to put the entire burden on your shoulder and still end up missing something by the time it gets to the city commission.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't have faith in you, it's just that we're putting a lot of undue burden on our staff when really we should just make sure it's all correct by the time it leaves this desk.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It sure does make sense, yeah.
Okay,
And
thank
each
you.
commission goes in a different way, right? Sometimes some commissions are more comfortable with conditional approvals. Other times commissions would like to see them all satisfied before any approval is discussed. So I think either direction the planning commission decides to go is noble and within your bounds.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Chair, could I add something?
Yeah, applicant, yes.
Sorry.
Yep.
Regarding the lighting, we did start a photometric plan, which shows you the light levels. I think where there's some confusion is I looked in Brookwood 1 and don't see any lights. And I'm like, well, I guess we're not we shouldn't be doing streetlights. Then it came to our attention during our plan review. What I need to know is what lights will go in there, and without reference to what's in the existing one, I don't know what to match or light levels. So and the timing, like we got our review letter back, we only had like 4 days. The consultant needed 5 days. So just so you know, that particular thing, we were in process. I think there's confusion because there's no lights.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say.
Understood, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm, in no way I'm trying to say you did anything wrong. It's a process, and I just want to make sure we all do our due diligence.
Understood. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's part of it, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Yes, Josh?
Mr. Chair, maybe I have been this, but
Yes.
what safeguards does the city have in place if the developer doesn't follow through with some of these concerns by the end of the project?
Oh, by the end of the project?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because this,
I can answer that.
you know, streets not being finished has happened before in the past.
Yeah, sure thing. So for the planning phase of the project that we're in right now, if they were not to follow through on those items that we listed as outstanding, this plan would never go in front of the city commission, right? If my recommended decision here tonight is followed through on, this plan will not go in front of the city commission unless all of those items that I showed are addressed and determined by staff as if it's addressed or not. So that's kind of the short answer. The longer answer to your question about the streets not being finished, I don't really have a good answer to that question, I'm sorry to say, but all sites in the city of Lapeer are required to follow through with their approved site plans. I can't speak too specifically to Brookwood 1, I wasn't here when it was approved. But I do know that if this plan is approved, finally goes through the ringer of the preliminary approval and then the final approval, and then if it's approved, we will not, continue to allow more construction to occur on site. So like one thing that's proposed in here is the phasing plan for the homes, right? So we would ensure that all of the site features that are included with phase 1, all of the aspects that are included in phase 1 have to be 100% completed before the developer can move on to phase 2. We've dealt with that with a few of the apartment complex projects in the cities here. They're very eager to continue the project and continue submitting. However, we won't let them submit for an additional phase until everything in phase 1 per the approved plan is completed. So we do have some safeguards here with a phased plan to kind of say, no, we will not issue building permits for phase 2 until phase 1 is 100% done. Like I said, unfortunately, I can't speak too specifically to how Brookwood to the south is without their top coat right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Yes.
Sure,
Commissioner
I don't
Paulson?
have any questions.
Yes.
Did you have a question?
Go ahead.
I'll wait. Are you sure?
1, 2, 3, go.
Okay.
Go ahead, 'cause I already went.
There was a couple concerns about the increased density in this neighborhood as compared to the older one. So I'm just wondering if maybe the developer can speak to that and why the increase. Obviously, we want to use city property efficiently, but if there was another reason.
You'd like to address that? No? I get it.
I think we're just going per.
So, I'm not familiar with what the ordinance might have been back in 2006, I think it was, that initial Brookwood was constructed, but we developed under the open space ordinance, so we have the lot sizes, and we're permitted a small reduction in both lot width and lot area with the compensation of the open space. So I'm not directly answering your question, but I can tell you how we're developing within the purview of the current ordinance.
Thank you, sir. Yes?
Sorry, Nick, cut you off, but it's relevant to her. Thank you for bringing that up. That's also a concern that I had as well, and if I understand correctly, Ben, that is an issue at a policy level which should be brought before the city commission, correct?
Yep, I think
Okay.
that's correct.
So
My review of this plan, all of the lots comply with our lot size requirements for the R2 district.
Yeah.
They are allowed a small, very small decrease, I believe it's 5% of the lot area. They may decrease all lots by 5% from our minimum allowable lot area, given that they've included the open space area in the center of the site. That allows for a small reduction.
So going forward, any concerns regarding density, because right now, the way that it's laid out meets requirement.
Correct.
So they're in compliance with zoning and any existing ordinances that we have and policies. But any concern about that going forward for either this project or any future projects, public and officials should address the city commission or your commissioner, reach out to them or the city manager and I guess advocate for policy review and reconsideration. But that's not what this board is for, so.
Thank you.
All right.
Commissioner Boss?
Yes, thank you. So first of all, I would just want to indicate, I think also, Ben, isn't there a bond that they have to post as well? It's not just, there is some monetary, like, kind of, there's something there that if in fact they don't follow through when they leave the project, there is a bond there, right? If you don't know, it's okay.
Yeah, sure. No, so that would be traditionally a site completion bond, right?
Right,
So we do
right.
take on one of those. More so, those are required so let's say this, if a site plan is approved and they were to start construction, the applicant is required to finish based on what the approved site plan is, right?
Right.
Sorry that I don't have too much experience with cases that have, kind of maybe been stopped in the middle. I haven't heard too many of those, but I would hope that there are some penalties in place if that is necessary. I can say that if, this is very traditional for site development, if a project is nearing completion, but a few items are still left outstanding, sometimes the city will entertain a small or large performance bond. So one example of that is landscaping, right? So if a project is nearing completion in a non-planting season, and they have not completed the required landscaping, however, they still want occupancy for the site at that point in time, we often will allow developers to post a performance bond that says, here's a quote that what it will cost to finish all the required landscaping on site, and here's the quote, and then based on this quote, I'm putting up a surety bond with the city of Lapeer for whatever the amount of the quote was, plus 10%. And then based on us receiving that performance bond, then we can issue a temporary certificate of occupancy. How those normally go is that once we receive that bond, grant temporary occupancy, the responsibility to install those plantings falls back onto the applicant. If that responsibility is not followed through with, the city cashes in that bond and goes and installs the rest of the required site plan features on their own.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. So I have a couple of questions, but I also have a comment. And I guess the comment is, I understand we've done some conditional approvals in the past, but this is a big project, as you've indicated. And the problem is that we didn't see the revised one because of, just getting their responses and their information till last week. So even though that came in last week, obviously, just because of mailing, we didn't get to see this until literally tonight. So I do think it is helpful, because there are a number of items on here, that we actually postpone this to next month so that we have an opportunity to know whether or not these items have been completed. But I have a question. One of the things you initially said when you gave your presentation, you said that they're going to expand the road network. Is that what you said?
Yeah, yeah.
So can you tell me, I didn't really hear that, so can
Yeah.
you tell me what that means?
Maybe I misspoke. Maybe expand isn't exactly the correct word. I meant to say that they are going to further the existing road network, and really all I meant with that is they're gonna continue the same layout, right? So there's an existing road here for the Brookwood subdivision to the south, and they're gonna keep kind of that same footprint of the road to continue to go north, and then same kind of thing is proposed here on the west side of the site.
Okay, so they're not expanding it.
They're not expanding,
Okay,
they're
that's
more
what
of
I thought you said.
continuing the original
Okay.
design. Yeah, thank you.
The other question I had, and I understand that the DPW has said that, they had no additional comments, but there's a and again, I'm not an engineer, I don't work for the water department, but there are a lot of units here, there obviously is an existing HOA. So I guess my concern is just a question about the water pressure. I don't know what the current water pressure right at this moment is at the current Brookwood of Lapeer, but will the, building of this many homes behind the subdivision, the current subdivision, impact the water, not usage, but the water pressure for those, the current homes, as well as obviously the new homes that will be built. So there was no concerns about that from the DPW?
Yeah, it's a great question. I will say DPW did a thorough review. However, our city engineer did an even more thorough review.
Okay.
So the city engineer kind of hit on all of the points. So when I asked DPW about their review, they said, well, then it wouldn't really make sense for us to send you what we have because it would just be a repeat of what Paul has already said. So really, the stuff for DPW and the city engineer is kind of one and the same in this fold. At this time, I do not believe that we've received enough detailed information for the engineer to really make a determination on that point, as we haven't seen the fully engineered plans yet. However, I can say that whatever is proposed, we have city code and city ordinances that monitor that sort of thing. And I can tell you for sure that the city engineer would not advise approval of a project that looked like it was gonna violate any of those city codes or city ordinances. Maybe the applicant could speak to that one too.
So, we had a direct conversation with the city engineering consultant, and one of his comments was we should consider a HOA connection over to the north and the east to the Lapeer County facility. And so that we expect is gonna be part of our engineering plans. So I think that would address any concern with regard to pressures or flows.
Okay, yeah, that's helpful to know, thank you.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, it's like, we got this updated report, but some of that detail, at least summarizing that, is not in our memo, so.
I understand. Yeah.
I
So-
know why I'm like I'm a little bit nervous about moving forward if we don't
Absolutely.
have those updated reports.
Yeah, I understand. I just point us back to this one fact, once again, that's present. So for the preliminary site condominium submittal, the requirements very clearly specify that full construction engineering drawings are not required at this time.
Right.
Yeah, but they will be required later on in the process. So that is absolutely valid concerns, but they weren't really required to submit those kind of things right now per our ordinances. So it's not really a fault of the applicant that we don't have that.
I
It's more of a
understand.
policy.
It's just a question I had.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Catherine, thank you, Ben. You're looking, any more comments?
I do, but I want to wait and see if.
Yeah, just real quick, I'm gonna go back to what I was talking about earlier, with regards to intent for, ownership. That comment, is that something that we can, introduce as one of the conditions if we choose to postpone this? Because I think it's a very valid concern, and I would like to know before I, give a yes or no on how I feel about this. I'm excited about it, but you have to put yourself in the shoes of other people, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Not an attorney, but that's not in our condominium ordinance, so I don't think it would be appropriate for us to do that.
Okay.
I would assume, Commissioner Roberts, that that would be a valid question for the commission when they are reviewing it.
Okay.
Yes, Mayor?
Okay, yeah, I have more questions, but Mr. Robert, I think that that's something that you could bring before the city commission and encourage your constituents to bring it before the commission as well.
Absolutely.
It's definitely a policy issue. The preliminary requirements. When we get to this stage right here where the engineering drawings, the full specs are required, specifically regarding the streets, which several of us have brought up and talked about, will that be required before it goes before the city commission?
For the final approval.
Okay.
Not for this preliminary phase.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right. And
right.
piggybacking on the street issue and the bonds, it's my understanding that we have policy in place for surety on road completion specifically.
We sure do.
Okay,
Yeah.
but that's something that we should be doing. So when the question was raised by Catherine, what is, and even Mr. Atwood, regarding what is the safeguards, what do we have in place? That is the answer.
You're right. Yeah, it sure is.
You know, without going into all the other, in performance bonds and trees and all that other stuff, it specifically highlights
Specifically for
infrastructural
road
completion.
construction. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Okay, and they don't get that back till it's done. If they don't do it, then we do exactly what you said we would do with landscaping.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
And somehow that policy was in place before this Brookwood Phase 1 was completed, and it didn't happen for them.
Correct.
And so you can see my hesitancy on approving something under condition. And I don't know who was the engineer at that time or where it fell through the cracks. But we have safeguards, but somehow even those didn't protect us. And I hate to be the guy who says, hey, this is a new developer and you're gonna pay for the crimes of the past developers, but unfortunately, this is where we're at today, and we're hearing about it from our residents. So, but that's the answer, and I wanna make sure that when we come around that phase, that's highlighted and that's something that is enforced.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I also have some other, let me just make sure with my notes if that was one of them, the last one. Report. I think that's it just one final comment on the topic. It's not a question, but I think I heard a resident ask the question about notice for the public hearing. And what I understand is that certified mail went out to adjacent properties only. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is due to the ordinance that we have under the subdivision, the condominium
Correct.
ordinance, chapter 10 in our city code. So that'll be Article 6, is that what it was? C2?
Yeah.
Section 10, 6, C2, Section C, paragraph 1.
I believe that's correct.
And so that's all that was required. Now, if it wasn't under the condominium ordinance and it was the other type of residential development, you would go out even further, 300 feet from is that correct?
If a special land use was requested, I think
Okay.
that's what you're getting at here.
Okay.
If a special land use
Yeah.
was requested,
All right.
all properties within a 300-foot radius of the subject property would have gotten a mail notice.
And
Yeah.
normally that's what people are expecting. But
You're
this
exactly right.
this is a different situation
Slightly
here
different.
because of the condominium ordinance.
Exactly.
So that's why maybe some people who might have been expecting to get a notice didn't get one. Okay, but we did post it publicly in the paper.
We sure did.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Just want to clarify that for the public because there was a question out there. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for clarifying that. Yes, Commissioner Atwood.
Maybe a question, but this is gonna come to the city commission twice, right?
You got it. Yep.
Okay. The other question is how does this align with our master plan? Because we didn't really talk that aspect of how it aligns with our master plan.
Mm-hmm. So very traditionally, flip to the zoning map real fast. Very traditionally, when we end up, I'm gonna start here. For R1, R2 properties, very untraditional to see a very large piece of property with that zoning classification, right? A barren, large piece of property with an R1 or an R2. As you can see here, the majority of our R1 and R2 lots in the city of Lapeer are very small, right? So what the master plan tells us, and then what our zoning ordinance is already following, is that this land is planned for R2 or R1 and planned exactly for something like this to happen, right? Planned for a developer to come in and to have the ability to cut up the lots into smaller lots that are still compliant with our ordinance. So it's, without reviewing the master plan specifically right now, I can tell you that it's my understanding that this is compliant with the intent of the master plan, which is to turn over large residential parcels into larger developments. Yeah.
Then maybe a question for the developer.
Yes.
So this is probably one of the biggest housing projects we've seen in a while. And they're newer to town. Is there something they're gonna hold maybe publicly to get to know the community or have the community get to know them for questions? Some of these questions could be answered right from the developer themselves in a more formal coffee with a commission style.
And yeah, if you would like to address that, absolutely.
Thank you for the question. My name is
Yeah.
Brian Farkas, Vice President, Allen Edmund Homes. We are absolutely going to have an informal listening session. Our intent is to be excellent neighbors. We work in all parts of the state, and as you guys know, municipalities talk to each other. So it is in our best interest to serve the communities we operate in exceptionally well. I've heard a lot of questions tonight. I understand the temperature is quite high. If it was happening in my backyard, I'd be just as intense as we are here tonight. We're still scheduling the meeting at the doghouse, but it'll go out to widely to get as many people there as possible, because I think a lot of these questions can be answered. It's not the appropriate forum to, but I think a lot of the answers the residents are gonna like.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, you said there's a meeting?
Not scheduled yet. It's
Oh,
gonna
I
be
think you
an
said scheduled.
informal meeting. We're working with city administration on setting that date. But again, I don't think this is the appropriate venue to answer non-site plan questions.
Yes.
But I think a lot of the answers are gonna be well received.
Thank you very much for addressing that and clearing that up. Appreciate that. All
You'll be
right.
invited.
Any more questions?
Yeah.
This isn't a public comment time.
No.
No, this isn't a
I
public.
just wanted to clarify something that was said after the public was cut.
We don't, we can't address, it's not, the public hearing's done.
We received a certified letter in the mail, and we do not.
I do not like
live in
doing this
Brookwood.
part, but that's not part of the public hearing. This is not a public hearing.
Okay, Scott.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
All right, any more discussion on the board?
So, I don't know if it's an option on here, but, yes, it is.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to postpone the recommendation to the city commission for consideration of the preliminary site condominium plan requested by Aaron Bessemer on behalf of North Oakland Management Company to construct 112 single-family homes on parcels L2098-031-01100 and L2098-031-00500 to allow the applicant more time to address all outstanding city review comments.
Support.
All right, we have a motion and support. Any discussion? Yes.
I guess I'll just say something, but I understand the delaying it. Just what happens is when we delay stuff like this is there's a lot of room for miscommunication to spread out throughout the community. And I've seen this before where there's half truth, part truth, or no truth, or truth altogether. And so I would just hope that we can maintain it while the applicant or developer gets their, the rest of these things in order. So, I mean, obviously we can't control what people say outside of the meeting or Facebook or whatever, but just to be leery of that.
Okay. Any more discussion?
So this is a vote to turn it down?
No, it's a vote to postpone.
Postpone.
Approval
Just-
to postpone it till next
Okay,
month.
so we're gonna postpone it,
Well,
and you're not in agreement with that, right? Is that what you're saying, or?
I don't know if that's a vote answer, so. I don't think that's a proper question.
I mean, I could say that I'm very secure that our professional engineering services and planning services will be able to get this done and complete before it goes to the city commission.
I agree with that as well. Be my comment, and yes, Commissioner Patterson.
I also agree, this is a preliminary review, and I believe a lot of the questions and comments we have are beyond this step. So I see honestly no reason to postpone.
Thank you very much for your discussion. Any more discussion? Yes, Commissioner Reed?
Just to make my thoughts known, I also don't see a reason to postpone, being that Mr. Keller is comfortable with moving forward, and our engineer said that he was comfortable moving forward with just that first step, so.
Thank you very much. Any more discussion? Yes, Mayor King.
Yeah, I guess, affirm my support of Ms. Bostic's motion and the comments and questions throughout the night. While I have no doubt that our staff is capable and competent, we are all humans, and we wouldn't hear some of the feedback we hear from our residents in Brookwood 1 if somehow the system didn't fail us at times. which is why I think it's important to, rather than move fast, to just follow procedural steps as closely as possible. The postponement is not a denial. The motion is not a denial. It is a, let's check the boxes, let's come back at it again, and let's feel good going forward. And ensure that all the bases are covered, that we have somehow gotten in front of boards like this before, yet still we have residents that have been failed by the city. So that'll be my comment and why I support the current motion.
Thank you very much. Should we do a roll call, Kim? Or should we just go with the ayes?
I can do a roll call.
Okay, we'll just do a roll call. Commissioner, oh, sorry, any more discussion before? Sorry, I didn't mean to say it like that. Roll call vote, Commissioner Brady?
Nay.
Commissioner Pattison?
Nay.
Commissioner Atwood?
Nay.
Commissioner Johnson?
Nay.
Commissioner Bostic?
Aye.
Vice Chair Roberts?
Aye.
Mayor Hing?
Aye.
And I am a nay as well. So motion is, fails, and now we have to make a new motion, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Anybody? Yes, Commissioner Pattison.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to recommend the city commission approve the preliminary site condominium plan requested by Aaron Bessmer on behalf of North Oakland Management Company, LLC, to construct 112 single-family homes on parcels L20, 98, 031, 011, 00, and L20, 98, 031, 005, 00, with the following condition. The applicant must address all outstanding city review comments, with the exception that full construction drawings are not required at this time.
Thank you for the motion. Any support?
Support.
Got motion and support, any discussion? My discussion on this wasn't there a section on, go back to your last slide there, Ben,
Yeah,
if you
sure
could
thing.
for me, just really quick. I just wanted, it's all, okay, so there, right, the full approval of plan and engineering required, okay, good deal. That's all part of that. I just wanted to make sure that that was in there. All right, any discussion? I guess we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Brady?
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Pattison?
Yes.
Commissioner Atwood?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Bostic?
No.
Vice Chair Roberts?
No.
Mayor Hink?
No.
And I am a yay as well, so, motion carries. All right, next, item on the agenda is the text amendments. I guess, this is gonna go with the fun subjects.
Real fun
Look,
beginning.
I'll give a second for the clear out. This isn't an open discussion time, but this is, just give a second for the public to clear out.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, oh, you missed, this in, sorry. I was gonna say our text amendments last time was a little bit, shorter, so you missed the shorter.
Timing's everything.
Yeah, you missed the short, it's the short one. I was really hoping that this would be the catch of the night. Ben, you're working really hard on this,
Thank you very much.
And I appreciate your effort on that.
Thank you.
If you don't say that out loud, I mean, this is a pretty significant amount of work that you have to go into these detailed and the amount of, well, ChatGPT is my friend. So.
Yeah, I've used it a time or two myself. I won't take all the credit. City Manager Womack helps me a lot.
Good deal.
With these kind of amendments and addressing and understanding when we need amendments and things like that.
Yep.
So tonight, we're holding a public hearing on text amendments to Article 17 of the City of Lapeer sign ordinance. So these are the same amendments that we have reviewed, I believe it's been 2 months now in a row. So we reviewed them once in a draft phase back in November. We reviewed them again in January. And then in January, after we reviewed them, we voted to set the public hearing that we have tonight as a required procedural step for all text amendments. So within these specific sign ordinance text amendments that we're looking at here tonight, we are looking to ensure compliance with Reed versus Town of Gilbert, which is a Supreme Court case that happened about 10 years ago that ruled that local governments, state governments cannot regulate signage based on content. They have to be content neutral in their regulation, and basically what that means is that we can regulate the total area of signs, we can regulate the height of the signs, we can regulate the placement location, we can regulate safety features, we can regulate the maintenance of the signs, but we cannot regulate the content of the signs. That was one intent with these amendments. The second intent was to simplify the temporary sign ordinance. So I'm going to go pretty quickly through all these tonight. Unfortunately, I do have to run through everything again since we're here at the public hearing. I hope that most of our discussion has, we've already had that discussion, but please stop me at any point. There is one area that I've talked to a few commissioners about before the meeting. I will stop at that point and we'll have some discussion about that point. Okay, so intent statement, which is the first section of our sign ordinance, we made some minor changes to the intent statements, and once again, just go into content neutrality, so removal of comments that spoke to advertising or commercial signs. We got that out of there to make sure we're content neutral. Signs not requiring a permit, same kind of thing. We've made several changes, moving to more content neutral language, removing mention of advertising signs, things of that nature. Employment signs, historical signs, once again, we can't regulate specifically based on topic of content or things of that nature. Prohibited signs, same kind of thing. We needed to remove signs, call-outs for signs that have specific words on them. We've changed that with a much more vague statement that says that any sign that confuses traffic, that uses shapes, colors, patterns, symbols that could imitate or could be confused with traffic control or emergency signals are prohibited signage. One point here that I also had some discussion about with some commissioners is string lights. Temporary decorative lighting installed for seasonal or civic events for periods not exceeding 60 days per calendar year. So formerly we had this caveat in the section that said, well, if your string lights are up for holidays or religious events, they're exempt and they don't have to, abide by this 60-day policy. Now that we've removed that content language, we're stuck in a predicament where I think there might be a few holidays throughout the year that might want string lights up for longer than 60 days. So I propose that we would increase this to 90 or 120. Real quick, is there any thoughts of the commission on that point?
Mayor?
I'm not sure who the other commissioners were that spoke with you, Ben. I know that I'm one of them. That 120 was something that we had discussed in terms of, I guess, the date there, because that would correct, I guess the thought behind it was that some people like to put Christmas lights up shortly after Halloween, sometime between Halloween and Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Then they don't like to take them down till sometime after New Year's. And there's people that do that all the way into February at times. That 30 or 60 would be too restrictive. And we wanted to give a little bit of leeway in that regard. And I think 124 months is plenty enough for something like that. And so I just want to know, on crossing off holiday or religious events, that falls into the realm of content, correct?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not to be confused with something that could be perhaps labeled as categorical. You wouldn't think that these could be categorical.
So categorically not allowing lighting for holiday or
Right. No. What I'm trying to say is we're crossing it off here, which is fine. I mean, we're giving enough margin, but there's going to be another topic coming up, and I just want to get ahead of it. Because some of these things could be categorical, not necessarily content
They sure could
driven.
apply to larger,
Okay.
absolutely.
And it almost seems like this could too, but I think taking the extra step to just eliminate the words safeguards us a little bit more.
I think you're exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, then I'm done. That's enough for me.
And I would say that we're also, so I'm thinking of an instance where maybe my neighbors have up string lights and I really don't like them because I think they're too bright. That's a nuisance. So we would kind of be protected in other areas of the ordinance if a situation like that did arise where those lights were causing a nuisance to my persons, then we could use other articles of the ordinance to, maybe get those lights taken down. So I would say, I think it's kind of harmless for us to go up to 120 here, would be my recommendation.
Very good. Thank you.
Commissioner Roberts?
Well, I don't know if this
Vice
is
Chair Roberts.
a comment or a thought. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Christmas lights are not becoming, that's not that's not the only time of the year now that people
Oh,
put
yeah.
lights up. Several people in my vicinity have the year-round lights, which I'm cool with. They have Valentine lights right now. I don't have any problem with it. So is this something that where if a next-door neighbor were to complain about their year-round change of lights, St. Patrick's Day, 4th of July, that they can be asked to, like, I mean, it's a matter of enforcing what the rule is based on a complaint, is that right?
You got it. Specific to string lights though in this case. So maybe those cases that you described weren't all string lights.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of them are. So if they were specific to string lights, then yes, absolutely, we could use this.
The more lights, the better for me, but I'm just saying I've noticed that recently.
Yeah, so like if, okay, I need to know this. So if you actually decide to install like lights on your house, so that it's like all there all year long, I mean, maybe you don't turn them on until Christmas or whatever, is that what you're talking about, or is that like something different?
Well, you have, I would assume that this is string lights is that, but if you have the
Because that's like
decorative
when you take
exterior.
them up and down,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
there are permanent lights you can put on your
Yeah,
house.
Yeah, the decorative.
Is that what we're still talking about?
I'm not taking it that direction.
No.
At least what here says.
Okay.
Yeah, so what I see, real quick, just to wrap up before we go to Patterson here, it says here, in no case does this restrict the use of string lights for temporary decorative lighting. So I think what you just described is not necessarily temporary decorative lighting. I think it's more of like an accent feature.
Yeah.
You know, a more permanent feature rather than a temporary decorative lighting.
Yeah, I mean, because you could interpret canned lighting underneath someone's awning or out in their yard as landscape lights. You could interpret that one way. I personally don't have an issue with it, but I'm noticing that. And so if you say 120 days, there are people violating that right now. I drove by it on the way here. I thought it looked awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Just pointing it out.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Atwood had you before. I didn't mean it, but.
Nope, I didn't have my hand up. I don't.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I did on accident. I don't know.
Sorry, but the way I'm reading it is to draw attention to a business where it's merchandise on display. It doesn't apply to residential.
You got it.
Oh, well, that would have been helpful, thank you.
Excuse me.
You should have stopped me, Jeff.
Yeah.
He had his hand up.
It would take
I
lots of sense then.
agree with the 120 then.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
care,
full
it's
agreement.
fine.
Then
I
yes.
apologize. That's a case of me not reading the full standard.
Well, I had no skin in the game.
Simple reading could have solved that one. Okay, so we'll move that one up to 120. I think that's an easy thing to do.
No problem.
Signs that confuse traffic, same kind of thing that I just went over. We can't regulate based on stop, look, danger, things like that. So more of a blanket statement. If a sign could be confused with traffic control or emergency signals, it is not allowed. Schedule of sign regulations. This is our big table where we've got all the specific regulations for permanent non-residential signs. So just another statement added here that shows that we're trying our best to be in compliance with Reed versus Gilbert. All sign regulations in this table shall apply without regard to the content or message of the sign, provided that nothing herein shall prohibit regulations based on size, height, location, illumination, or duration, like I talked about earlier. This is a specific case where we removed a content call out for commercial sort of signage. Same kind of thing here. We removed a call out that spoke specifically to directional signage, albeit it seems a little silly that is regulating signs based on content. And then same kind of thing down here for quality of signs, hand lettered or stencil signs. That's regulating signage based on content. Okay, so this section, the slides on images here talk all about our interstate corridor signs. When we talk about interstate corridor signs, I'd like you to think about signs that can be viewed from I-69. And same kind of thing, we've gone to more content neutral language, there were lots of call outs specific for advertising, our commercial language in this section. And same kind of thing that I talked about for the traffic safety points, we need some vague language rather than specifically calling out images, colors, and lighting. Signs in residential districts, once again, we went content neutral. There were several call-outs in this section that spoke to specific uses, such as churches, colleges, schools, things of that nature. We've removed those terms and just added a blanket term of institutions. These are kind of uses that sometimes you see in residential, oftentimes they are permitted in residential, things like churches. So we made sure to call those institutions for public use. Down here, signs accessory to a public use or institution rather than a nonprofit organization, for example. General requirements for all signs. We've removed some specific words, and now we rely on no sign shall be erected that may interfere or obstruct the view with traffic. Same kind of thing that I've already talked about, stop, look, danger, get those call-outs out of there. And then now, kind of shifting topics to the second topic within these amendments is our temporary sign ordinance, some changes to the temporary sign ordinance. The following regulations shall apply to all temporary signs placed or displayed outside of a building. All temporary signs shall conform to dimensional, locational, duration requirements, content neutral, and shall be installed and maintained in a safe condition. Temporary signs are subject to the following regulations, which are shown on this table here. So this is our temporary sign ordinance table. So a few of the bullet pointed changes that we've made. Once again, we went very content neutral. We removed mention of garage sale signs. There were a few other call-outs on this table that were very specific in what they were trying to regulate. So here's where I'd like to have a little bit of further discussion. Thinking about specifically political signage in residential. As we know, we can't just say, political signs and then regulate them how we'd like to. We kind of have to lean on this one that calls out for small temporary freestanding signs, specifically in residential districts where we see a lot of political signs go up. So one comment that I've heard from commissioners prior to this meeting is that, currently we only allow a maximum size of 6 square feet, and then we only allow 1 per lot, 2 on a corner lot. So here's one example for us. What if we had 4 open city commission seats and someone wanted to choose 4 representatives who they thought, would be voted for? Well, currently that would be non-compliant with our ordinance because we only allow 1 sign, 1 per lot, and 2 on a corner lot. One avenue that I see that we could maybe modify this very slightly that could allow for more signage, more quantity of signs, but not necessarily get away from the intent of the maximum size per lot. I'm thinking maybe we go to something similar to the standard that we had for wall signs formerly. So we don't regulate the quantity of wall signs that can be on a structure, but we do regulate the total area. So what I propose here is maybe we keep this maximum size at 6 feet, 6 square feet, but then we say we keep this maximum size per individual signs at 6 square feet, and then we allow for up to 12 square feet of signage in residential districts. And how I got to 12 is political signs, I believe, are 1.5 feet by 2 feet traditionally, so that is 3 square feet per sign. So if we went up to 12 for maximum size and we removed the maximum number allowed, in theory, someone could have 4 political signs totaling 12 square feet, or they could have 2 political signs that are both 6 square feet. So what do we think about that? I think that's a good way to allow for more political signs, but kind of keep the intent of very limited size requirements in residential districts.
I think that's fine.
I'm in agreement. I agree with that as well.
Okay, good. Very good. And then additionally, kind of here, display duration and additional standards. I know we've talked about that, this chapter may be enforced here, enforced there. How does enforcement of this chapter normally go? But I think we should keep our heads on in the cases of when we do have to enforce this chapter, right? So I think maybe displayed for up to 30 consecutive days in a calendar year, not to exceed 90 total days. The election cycle is often a fair amount longer than 30 days per. I think a simple change to kind of, once again, keep the intent but not harm anyone is just strike this language here and go to a blanket total of display duration may not exceed 90 consecutive days. And then I'd also like to add a comment. So once again, these are signs that don't require a permit, so people can just put them up. So same kind of thing, they can also just take them down. So I would like to add a comment that says, the city encourages removal of temporary signs after the event or message is no longer relevant. What do we think
That's
about those
subjective.
things?
I think that's a very subjective statement.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, kind of, it was quite a while ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Was it We Love Lapeer signs were everywhere? That was, I don't know who got that going, but that was about the same size as an election sign.
Mm-hmm.
They were all over the place.
Forever, I bet.
That's kind of a, you're gonna allow it, or?
Isn't this really gonna come down to someone being upset about it and calling and complaining?
Yeah, absolutely.
So based on the fact that that's probably not gonna be a very large number, I think it's a lot of thought for not a lot of problem. So 90 days, someone's not gonna someone's gonna have some people leave their signs up politically all year. I don't care. but the next door neighbor might. So if they call it in, it gets enforced. If they don't call it in, I don't really think we need to be spending taxpayer dollars policing that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think it's a huge issue.
Leave it as a bigger blanket, and then if it get the ordinance.
I like that. Yeah, so let's move it up to 90 days, and we'll just keep it at that.
Were you, I'm sorry,
agree.
you, okay, I didn't know if
agree.
you were gonna make a comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mayor?
Yeah, and I think there's quite a few signs that are circulating out there right now. Aside from that example, there's some that are actually in place at the moment. I think there's one about a car hit victim, and then there's one about loving the libraries, and there's what, I mean, we have more than we actually know we have. Some are on topics that are contentious within the community, which means that once we actually put a standard in place, which currently we don't have, we're gonna start having calls to enforce it more than we realize.
Good.
And so I feel like this is just, when we start doing stuff like this, we're boxing ourselves in. We're gonna have, we don't wanna spend taxpayers' money on enforcing ridiculous ordinances, but we're going to once we start setting standards like this. So, you know, I mean, we didn't have that standard before. Maybe we need a standard, but do we need to have it so restrictive? And, you know, especially when you get to political signs, you know, there's even more division there. And, you know, people are gonna be counting the days till they can call certain things in. Or they're just gonna steal them all together, and that happens too. So, you know, I mean, I don't know. I don't see a problem with trying to standardize some things. But if we're being too restrictive, I think we're gonna get ourselves into a situation where people are just calling the police and out of vendettas, so.
Would you be saying that the 90 is too little, or just kind of strike the 90, or is that, or go a little bit higher? Or
I don't really have a solution. Ben, I kind of talked to you about this previously. The solution for me, really, what I suggested to you, and I was hoping we get a little bit research before the conversation, was, and that's why I was talking about the lights, the holidays. I mean, I don't know where we draw the distinction between content and category, okay? Because political signs, if you're not telling somebody, no, you gotta put so-and-so's name on there, that's content. But the sign itself is a political category. So, I mean, temporary is a category, okay? Signs needing a permit is a category of sign. So, political signs, even when we talk about, you know, the lighting that Mr. Patterson pointed out, and that is that it was intended for business use. That's a category. Intended for political use. That's a category. So we're regulating business usage. Why can't we regulate political usage separately than this? Then we can, but then that doesn't solve the problem of, I love my library, I want to get a phone call on this hit and run, you know, that kind of stuff. Now we're regulating that. We've solved the problem of category signs, but now we have a different problem still to solve. I don't know. I think a lot of this is really just good to go. As I said in the last meeting, you guys spent a lot of time on this. I'm not going to hold it up, but I was hoping that you had a better suggestion specifically for that, for that concern.
So I think maybe we're overthinking it just a little bit. I think, you know, this is one, so I will say, here's a copy of our former temporary sign table. So for small temporary signs in R1, R2, R3, all of our residential districts, we formerly only allowed 5 square feet. We're talking about increasing that to 12 square feet. So just think about, you know, the implications of doing that, of what our existing conditions were with our existing ordinances and what we're gonna move forward to. Additionally, we did not have, like Mayor Hing said, we did not have a permitted duration that specifically could be applied to political signage. Now, I had been tasked with, you know, kind of trying to tailor this temporary sign ordinance, 1, to be content neutral, and 2, to be some good regulations that could apply to some political signage. So that's where I've arrived at the 90. Or I'm sorry, currently we've got maybe displayed for 30 consecutive days, not to exceed 90 days. We're kind of, through discussions, we're understanding that that does not really fit. This is a pretty You know, I guess I'll just go back to my main point here is that I think, you know, let's not think too hard about this. Our original standard is that we didn't have a standard. So I think we could maintain that policy of no standard for duration. We could go to 90 days, we could go to 30 days. Honestly, I think we're splitting hairs.
Yeah,
So.
well, no, you're fine, go ahead.
Commissioner Johnson.
Bottom line is, ordinances are in place for the squeaky wheel. Somebody's got a complaint, and you look it up, yeah, we got an ordinance for that. I mean, other than that, pretty much you let things go. I mean, if you were to go around, if somebody was diligent, you could complain all day long. I mean, it's kind of a non-issue, you know, we got standards, let's just move forward.
I agree.
I mean, we're splitting hairs, we're beating this like a dead horse. I mean, it's most 90% of the time it's a dead issue. It's just.
Commissioner Boston.
I was actually just gonna say, you know, because this is a category where we're not requiring a permit, I don't think it's a, like you said, I mean, we're extending it to 90 days. Whether we say 90 days or not, and I think we should have a limit on it, I don't think it's gonna be a big issue. These are small signs, you know, and honestly, I know we're on video, but a lot of people like steal, they're unhappy. I don't know if they're gonna call the police, they're just gonna go take the sign and go throw it away or do something with it. So I don't know if it's really gonna be a big deal. I think 90 days, you put effort into this, I think it's fine. That's my opinion.
Yes. Commissioner Benson.
In my opinion, actually, is I don't mind the size regulation. I don't want a huge sign in my neighborhood, but it's my yard. I have the right, I feel I have the right to put up what I want in my yard. I can put up inflatable decorations for Christmas, Halloween, etc. I see no difference. I think we should just limit the size of and go from there.
I agree with Commissioner Pedersen. We didn't have the restriction before. The logic behind ordinances for the squeaky wheel, as we just heard, what squeaky wheel is forcing us to add this to our ordinance now? Do we have one?
No, I think the answer is no.
Okay, and it's my understanding, based on the packet description of this particular item, that we were, the goal here was to come into line with content neutrality and ease of, I guess, enforcement
yeah.
for staff, not create new rules that we didn't have before. So, you know, I think we're stepping a little, we're overreaching a little bit.
Okay.
And I think if we didn't have it before, it just shouldn't be there.
Sounds good
Since
to me.
it's becoming an issue that, you know, we don't want to, as we heard, beat a dead horse.
Okay, very good.
That's just my take on it, and.
Yeah.
you know.
So I think based on those discussions, I think we should go with removing any maximum display standard for those small temporary freestanding signs. Is there any strong opposition to that before I execute that change? Okay, great.
I'm sorry, what change? Just taking out the duration or
No
what?
duration requirement for
Okay.
small temporary signs. in
Okay,
business.
all right. I just want to make sure what you're
Yeah.
taking out.
Okay, and quite honestly, I don't mind the size, but I don't think it should be the homeowner's discretion as to how many signs they want to put up.
But not the size, that you need it to be this.
I still want the smaller size. I don't want
I don't want a
10 by
placard
12
on
sign.
my neighbor's like.
I agree, but if
Yeah.
my neighbor wants to support 5 issues or 10 issues.
Right, but the size counts. I mean, that's why I
Correct.
think the size is important.
So I said, limit the size,
You want it to be a plate issue.
no other restrictions.
Okay. Yeah, is that the consensus of the board for us to move on?
Yeah, I agree with that. I just wanted, because you made a comment about the political signage being 1.5 feet.
Foot and a half by 2
foot,
feet, yeah.
Which is really small, and I know that, I mean, I feel like that's a small sign. Like a regular size might be more like 2 by 3 feet.
So that's why I gave us a little bit
And
of
we have
buffer
the
there.
6, yeah, okay.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, very good. Good discussion. Okay. So that's all I got. It is staff recommendation that the planning commission recommend approval of the proposed text amendments to the city commission with the changes that we've discussed and agreed upon tonight.
All right, I will now open it up for public hearing. Jeff, you got anything for us on this subject matter? I will say this about that, Jeff, you've stuck through with us the entire time on these. I think you've only missed 2 of them, so thank you. On our signage, and I will close public hearing, seeing none. And any discussion?
Crickets.
Would you like, how about this, I'll make a motion, where are we at here? Public hearing on the text minutes. Okay, cool, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the proposed text amendments to the zoning ordinance, chapter 7, articles 13, 15, 16, 17, to the Lapeer City Commission.
As amended.
As amended, yes, as amended with, yep, sorry. As amended. We have a motion on the board. Do we have any support?
Second.
We got a second on that. Any discussion?
Who seconded that? I'm sorry. Was you? Okay.
And any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor with an aye?
Aye.
All those opposed with a nay? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you very much. Site plan reviews, we have none. Other business annual reports of 2025.
Yes, I'll run through this real fast. This is included in your packets. We've got the 2025 annual report. As you're all familiar with, state law requires every planning commission across the state to submit a report to its legislative body describing what actions were taken by the planning commission in the previous year. We'd like to add a little bit more information on these annual reports, and there's a few things on here that help us maintain our RRC compliance if we just put them on the annual report every year. So real fast, we've got all of our planning commission members, and then we've got their associated term expiration dates on here. I will note that Mayor Hing is not on this list because he did not, was not in office when we had any planning commission meetings in 25. So Debbie is listed here as the mayor, but once again, this report is encompassing our planning commission meetings in 25, which Mayor Hing was not involved with. Planning and zoning activities in 2025. We had 10 regular meetings in 25. We had 1 joint meeting with the city commission, and during those planning commission meetings, we reviewed 4 special land use requests. They were all approved. 2 were approved with conditions. We reviewed 4 site plan reviews, all of which were approved with conditions. We issued 2 site plan extensions, 1-year extensions, so these will expire this year. And I can say Urgent Design is moving along, and we'll probably get a final approved site plan in the very near future. Wood chips, we have not heard much from recently, and that one will probably end up expiring. It's unfortunate. That would have been a cool project. Maybe I'm wrong though. We'll see. Went through 2 rezonings last year, 606 North Saginaw, which we just worked. 606 North Saginaw. No, that's that's okay. Right. To B1, right, that was office service to B1, right, that was the Riverview Towers building, yep, right, I remember that one. And then 4 East Nepessing Street, that was that one site near the river. That guy maybe was thinking about putting some apartments on that site, which is still a possibility. We haven't seen a site plan yet. That was rezoned from B2 to CBD1. Both of those were recommended approval to the City Commission, and then they were approved by the City Commission. We went through, kind of just wrapped it up into 1 text amendment, even though it wasn't just 1, that's for sure. Just about every meeting in 25 we met, we had some thorough discussion about text amendments. So we categorized it as 1 because that's how we packaged it up to send it to City Commission that time around. I think we probably won't do that again, as that was a lot for the City Commission to work through, a lot of different topics. So just the 1 text amendment, but it was to various topics, sections. All are in section 7, which is the zoning ordinance, so articles 13, 15, 16, 17, we recommended approval to the City Commission. It was eventually approved. Other business that the Planning Commission executed, we reapproved the capital improvement plan, which is now active 26 to 31. We'll probably end up doing that again in the next few months. We approved a waiver to allow overhead doors facing a public street that we have now done a text amendment for that is no longer a requirement, and maybe that waiver was kind of what kicked us to remove that requirement. And then the Planning Commission also, kicked off, we executed our 5-year review of the master plan. We determined that a full update is necessary. The master plan update, the City Commission then put out a request for proposals. City Commission got some proposal responses, and then finally decided to choose Rowe to execute the city's master plan update project. So right now, that update is scheduled to have, we're scheduled to have our kickoff meeting next month. So I'll just put us all on notice so we can start thinking about this. Traditionally, the first master plan meeting does occur at the planning commission level, and then the planning commission has the, ability to decide, should we do a steering committee to do this update project, or should we keep all of those update project meetings at the planning commission level? My recommendation, most planning commissions that work through the amount of material that we work through, it would be best to appoint a steering committee, because then those update process can be very dense, and we'll have some very long meetings if we do keep it at planning commission. That's just my recommendation for productivity, right? So I see, it's very clear, once you reach over 60 minutes in a meeting, productivity goes like this. Once you reach over 120 minutes in a meeting, you're not getting much done, right? So these master plan projects are very dense. And that's why, the steering committee meetings can happen during the day, they can happen at different times, so I really recommend that we go with the steering committee. And you know what, the steering committee could comprise the entire planning commission if they wanted to do so, and then those meetings would just be held outside of planning commission. That's the real intent of a steering committee, is to have them outside of the planning commission meeting. But we'll talk about that more in March, and then we can maybe take a vote to decide how we want to do that, and then we'll talk about how that steering committee could be comprised, what different aspects of the city, areas, people in the city we want to have on that steering committee. Training log for 25. The training policy for the City of Lapeer Planning Commission was updated in 23. It does not require members to attend a specific number of trainings. It does require the city to provide at least 2 training opportunities to board members each year. In 25, the city provided training on community partnerships at the joint meeting by Mr. Brady, I believe. He did that one. And which the Planning Commission attended. Additionally, at each Planning Commission meeting, staff updates the Commission on upcoming virtual or in-person training opportunities organized by Michigan Association of Planners or other similar groups. The Planning Commission has a training budget each year, which is intended to be used by Planning Commission members for these events. In 2026, one training policy will be exploring the best approach to allow for, you guessed it, business-friendly signage requirements while maintaining a high level of quality for all new signage and corridor improvements. Yeah, I know. Keep going. So on that note, we knew that we'd have a big meeting tonight, so I have nothing to present for new wall signs. We'll do that in a future month.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Thank
I
you.
know. Gold star for that, right?
Gold star.
Economic and marketing policies. In 2021, the City of Lapeer adopted an economic and marketing strategies document. The following table summarizes the status of high priority strategies within that document. This is really just some policy notes. The Planning Commission, as we all know, does not allocate funds. So some of these things are not really at the purview of the Planning Commission. Some are indeed within the purview of the Planning Department for staff to do. Very standard list, I'm not going to go through it here. And then we've got our planning and zoning goals for 26. So the Planning Commission will continue to review rezonings, special land uses, site plan review requests as required by the zoning ordinance. Additional goals, I'm sorry, that's a typo there, that should say additional goals for 2026 include, so here are some draft goals that I put together. Continue to maintain our RRC certified level of compliance. That is the second tier of RRC compliance, the highest tier, and we are currently working through the recertification process for that. It needs to be done by the end of March. Our next agenda item is one required step in that completion process, in that recertification process. So I think it's absolutely the intent of the Planning Commission to maintain that certification. It leaves the door open for lots more funding opportunities for the city. Master plan update project that will be kicking off in 2026. I have it written as a goal that we'd like to finalize the updated master plan. Maybe sometimes that gets thrown off, based on some things in the project, so it may not happen all in 26. So I have a note, we'd like to either finalize the updated master plan or we'd like to make some significant progress in that update process. I trust we'll do that. And then one thing we're already doing very well that we should continue to do is continue to actively identify flaws in the zoning ordinance and then address those flaws through text amendments. We're clearly doing that because we talk about text amendments every meeting. So do we have any other goals in mind to add tonight? Not to put you on the spot. If you think of them, I can add them later.
I think it's a pretty good list to start on, Commissioner Johnson.
When are we gonna settle some of these text amendments? I mean, we keep talking about them. When are we gonna be done with them?
It's a great question. So the process is to, as I'm sure you're all very familiar with, is we do discussion, And then we set the public hearing, and then we hold the public hearing, and then at the end of the public hearing, we normally make a recommendation to the city commission to then do something with the text amendment, right? We've been working on the sign ordinance quite a bit. We've been working on different topics within the sign ordinance. So,
I'm not reflecting on you, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
I'm
not
just
at all.
asking, it's just.
yeah,
We got a
I
lot
like
more to
when
go,
stuff done.
Marty.
I understand.
I said we got a lot more to go, Marty.
Oh, believe me, I get that, but I just,
Yeah.
yeah, I wanna move forward.
So it definitely is, you know, as it's a goal, it's listed here, right? Continue to actively identify flaws in the zoning ordinance. So I'll be quite honest, a lot of times, how these text amendments come about is Mike, our city manager, gets an inkling, you know, maybe hears something from the public, hears something from staff, does some investigation, and then kind of pokes the planner to look into something a little bit more. That's often how these text amendments get started. I feel like that's a very noble process. That's exactly how text amendments should work, is when he, as the leader for the city, you know, hears something, you know, identifies a flaw in the zoning ordinance, then we address that flaw, so.
I have a comment.
All the building materials and all that has already been adopted.
Okay.
It's already on the website.
And
as a
that could
new
be
law.
my fault, not knowing that, I mean, that's,
That first one, major one that he went over, that's already in place and approved.
Yeah.
So like earth tones,
Say again?
earth tones,
The earth tones
Yeah.
are in
Yeah,
place.
you got it. Our new building table, right?
then I'm good.
Yeah.
I have a question, and this actually came up, I don't know how many years ago now, and it never really happened. But what I think a goal should be is that, you know, we talk about, you know, modifying our ordinance and making sure that we're up to date and we're incorporating like new materials and what we are seeing in the market and how that's beneficial to our community. But I thought at one point we were actually gonna have like I don't wanna call it, kind of like an educational session, maybe invite like, and I'm not trying to make it a competition for local builders, but invite builders to be able to, or other people, to be able to like kind of say what the current materials are. This is just one example, but like we never had that happen. And I think it's helpful sometimes when, obviously, Ben, you're trying to give us as much information as you can as to what is happening, but, you know, we're trying to do this in like a kind of a microscope here, and it would be helpful if we had some of that on the back side in regards to some education. So we're not just making a quick decision. So I don't know if everybody else remembers that.
Oh, I remember.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
And I think it was around the time where we were talking about, what was that material they sent around?
It was
We
the
had-
metal.
It was the metal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know about this thing, but we had no education.
Yeah, sure.
We didn't know as a planning
Blaine's,
commission.
It was Blaine's Farm and Fleet.
Well,
We-
oh, yeah, it was
sure.
We
Blaine's,
rejected it
right.
because it didn't fit into a very narrow, outdated box.
Right.
And my point at that time was, I consider exterior stucco on a building to be hideous. It's outdated. That's just my opinion, and that's old technology, but that's what we're forcing people to do because we don't have a little more flexibility with today's day and age. And it's changing every day. So like,
Sure is.
this isn't like this just happened issue. This is a forever issue. It's gonna continue to change.
So maybe it's not builders, maybe it's
I
manufacturing.
think it's
community.
architects. I
Yeah,
think it's the guys
architects.
who draw our site plans,
Right,
right?
so
The
come
guys
and
and
talk
gals.
to us and give
Yeah.
us some training,
Mhm.
so we're better equipped to make decisions. So-
Oftentimes, those
That's my
architects are
input.
really looking to build a relationship with the city and build a relationship with the planner. Corey from Davis is one example. He's got a great relationship with the city. Most of the time, his projects go well because we're very familiar with what's going on. I think he and maybe some others would be happy to do something like that, so.
Yeah, that
I'll
would be
add
great.
it. Yeah, I like that idea a lot. Okay, so we'll get that goal added. It is staff's recommendation that the planning commission make a motion to send this report to the city commission for their review, including that one revision that we just discussed to the goals page.
All right, any discussion?
Need a motion first?
Well, or ask
I'll
if
make a
Ben
motion.
questions, yeah. Yeah.
I'll make the motion to approve that.
All right, we got a motion and support.
Who supported? I.
Commissioner
oh,
Patterson. Any discussion? All those in favor with an aye? Aye. All those opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you, thank you.
For the-
Yes,
Sorry,
yes, you go.
just want to clarify, the motion to approve was with
Oh.
the addition to the goals.
Yes,
Okay.
With addition?
Yep.
Thank you.
yeah, we didn't quite read that, sorry, that was my fault.
Yeah.
That was my one error of the meeting that I'm allowed. And look at what's in front of us now, more text amendments?
Or text amendments, yeah, I'm sorry to say. Okay, so new kind of thing. I was prepping for this meeting tonight, and I was like, wow, I can either bullet point this memo, or I can just put a clip of it, and then I can read it off, and it's already in front of you. So why didn't I think of that a year ago? I don't know. But so the topic of this memo is housing diversity as a point of required RRC compliance, and then a potential text amendment, attached single-family dwelling units as a permitted use in RM1, RM2 multifamily districts. So I'm just going to read straight off this memo. Included in tonight's meeting packet is a draft text amendment to the zoning ordinance to allow for attached single-family dwelling units permitted by right in RM1 and RM2 multifamily zoning districts. So where did this text amendment come from? The city is currently working through the RRC recertification process. As a part of this recertification process, RRC has tasked the city. Maybe this is a little misleading. They haven't specifically tasked the city. They've tasked all communities that are RRC certified to follow this next step here. So RRC has tasked all of their communities with allowing one new housing type permitted by right in any zoning district in the city. Given that we already allow attached dwelling units through our condominium ordinance, so think about Woodbridge Park as one example. Those are quadplexes. So we kind of already have examples of those throughout the city. Staff thought that attached dwelling units allowed by right in RM1 and RM2 multifamily districts would be a simple amendment to make to satisfy this recertification process. Some of the other uses of land that were proposed to maybe add to our city ordinance to kind of satisfy this requirement were much more intense and would require much more deliberation by the Planning Commission. So one of those examples is accessory dwelling units. So accessory dwelling units may or may not be the right thing for each community, but that is a very challenging bag of worms to get into. You know, there's lots of utility requirements that come about if we allow accessory dwelling units. There's lots of concern from the public if those ADUs would be turned into rentals one day and things like that. So I was hoping to stay away from all of that and keep us in something that we're fairly comfortable with. Looking at that list of what we could have added, I guarantee this is the most comfortable thing for us to add. All recertification efforts with RRC are intended to be completed by March 31st. Based on this, it would be ideal if we could move quickly with this amendment. If the Planning Commission is mostly content with this proposed amendment, staff recommends the Commission to make a motion to set a public hearing for amendments to Article 4 and Article 13 for the March Planning Commission meeting. I would encourage us as we walk through this amendment briefly here in the next few slides. You know, this is a required step of RRC compliance. If this is something that we're not comfortable with, maybe that's a sign that RRC isn't right for the city of Lapeer. So I just want to throw that out there. So this would be an amendment to Article 4 of the zoning ordinance. So we've got all of our current text here is currently in black with proposed text in red. There's actually no proposed text on this first slide. The second slide shows Table 7011, which is our multifamily residential districts, the schedule of uses. So obviously in red here, I'm proposing to add single-family attached dwellings as a permitted use in RM1 and RM2. And then with each use of land in the zoning ordinance, we've got a section, an additional requirements section that kind of lists off some specific requirements for that specific use of land. So the two sections that I propose for us to have as additional use requirements for attached single-family dwellings are 71301B, which is included in your packets, but it's not up on the screen. And that is our standard for single-family detached, and those kind of standards discuss all dwelling units must be on a permanent foundation. All dwelling units must have attached garages if there are attached garages, if 75% of dwelling units within 300 feet of the subject property have attached garages. So it's very rudimentary and very important standards for single family, and they also apply to single family attached dwellings. So we've made sure to include, if you propose to construct new single-family attached dwellings, you absolutely must comply with all of our standards for single-family detached. In addition, you must comply with all of these standards, these new standards from 71301G that are specific to attached dwellings. So the first new standard for attached dwellings is a building containing attached single-family dwellings shall not exceed 4 dwelling units per structure. That's basically saying that we will allow for quadplexes, we will not allow for more than quadplexes. And I got to 4 based on what we currently allow in Woodbridge. I would caution us, let's not get too hung up on this. If we want to go to 2, that's totally fine. I would caution you to think about, what do townhome developments look like in other communities across the state? A lot of times it's even more than 4 units in one structure. Keep that in mind. Each unit shall provide for private outdoor space of at least 250 square feet. So some of us, there's always a concern when we get a shared development like this of how much open space is allotted to each individual unit. So I've proposed this requirement of at least 250 square feet for each unit, and then it would kind of be on the onus, it would be on the responsibility of a developer to show that in a site plan, to show how much square footage is allowed for open space for each unit. A minimum separation distance of 25 feet shall be provided between principal buildings containing attached single-family dwellings. Minimum separation of at least 25 feet, so they can't get any closer together than 25 feet. I have not shown this to our fire chief yet. I think they'd be very happy with that, so that, in the event of an emergency, we have adequate space. Where the primary facades of 2 buildings face one another, so think about a private road with townhomes on each side, the minimum separation from when a house faces one another shall be at least 35 feet. Through researching other ordinances, similar communities, that's kind of how I found this standard. I have not seen this one executed too much in practice, but that's kind of how I got to the standards. It seemed to be an important standard. It was present in several other community ordinances.
Boy, that seems awfully narrow.
Where the primary facades of buildings face one another, the minimum separation shall be. So it is a minimum. Maybe we increase that.
I mean, you're looking at a 24-foot road plus curbs and sidewalks and...
Yeah. Maybe 50 better?
Would you say that wall's 35 feet?
I'd say about 25, 30, yeah, it's gonna be up there.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Commissioner Patterson?
Okay, my comment is on the 4 dwellings, stacked. I mean, can they be 4?
No, it's not. We still maintain our height requirement for our multifamily residential districts. So no, it's more so thinking of east to west. I'm sorry, more so thinking of width rather than height.
Should that be something we clarify?
I don't think it's necessary, but I'd be happy to. If the board thinks it's necessary, be happy to add that.
Nothing wrong with just putting that in there about not stacking.
That kind of explains what it speaks to.
Yeah.
Okay.
2-level.
Multi.
Yeah, I got you. Just a reminder of our height requirement would be helpful there.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And would it be easier to put a footnote there pointing to the height requirement?
That's a great idea.
Or should we actually define the floor, the level restriction?
I think a footnote's a great
Someone
idea.
mentioned 2 level. Footnote's better?
I think a footnote, and then honestly, our table that shows the maximum height specifies that 2-level thing already.
Okay.
It specifies a height in feet, and then it specifies a height in stories too.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So it is staff recommendation that the Planning Commission make a motion to set a public hearing for amendments to Articles 7.4 and 7.13 for the March 12th Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you, Ben. Any discussion or questions for Ben on this subject?
I actually happened to find in Doug's drawer here that we have the zoning ordinance map, so I was just wondering like where the RM1 and RM2, like where it's zoned in the city.
Yeah.
But this is like a 2010 one, is this the most current one?
No,
Okay.
we've got about.
Probably should be in the drawer then.
We did a few changes since then. We've all
Yeah,
been on the
I
board
thought we
for
changed
quite
the
some
zoning
time.
map.
I haven't been up here since 2010, so.
What is it, 20? Oh, no, I haven't either, no. I said it to my math in my head, though.
You have a
Oh,
coloring book.
1956.
You have a coloring book.
He's got, hey, you gave it to him, did you say it's a coloring book?
There's a cough drop in there.
Bear with me. This is probably the oldest computer that I've ever worked on.
And you don't have to look, if it's gonna take a while, it's okay, I just wanted to know
Oh, it's okay, I got it
like
right
if you, I mean, I can picture some of them in the city, I'm just trying to think of where the RM1 and RM2
So I would
districts
assume
are.
the Woodbridge, with
Yep,
the new
I know where
development
that's
back
at.
there, but I would, is Charbridge and all that the same?
All the
Oh,
apartment.
yeah,
so-
you're right, it's
so,
probably
yeah.
there, that's
Yep.
all of them, yeah,
Because the apartment complexes are zoned RM1 and RM2.
Yeah.
okay.
But
I'm just
they're
trying to figure out
orange.
where they would be able to
They're
build them.
orange on that map, and there's not a lot of new ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like a darker orange.
Oh, see, it's.
There's different variations of orange on
That's
there.
way different.
Oh, yeah, it is, yeah, that one
here's-
on the map is not the same.
So that's the area we're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Right here, this is,
Oh, that's the
that's
new
the-
development on,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, the villas,
Villas.
Lapeer
the villas,
Villas.
yep.
So in reality, that's another reason why I chose RM1 and RM2. There's not much of it on the map.
Yeah, there's not.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to make sure I knew where the things were at.
yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
All right, any more discussion? Yes, Commissioner Atwood.
Yeah, I love words, but I love pictures as well. Is there like examples you could have at the planning commission meeting,
What they mean?
or, yeah,
I get that.
public hearing, what it might look like?
Absolutely, yeah, we can do that. Of what, so just to make sure that I accomplish what we want here, well, it's really just pictures of townhome developments.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what we're looking for, that are compliant with those standards that we just had, yeah. Okay, absolutely, I can provide some of those. Would it be helpful to, you guys know the city very well, would it be helpful to provide examples of those townhomes that I described we already allow in the city through the condominium ordinance? Like basically taking some pictures of Woodbridge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Carry too.
That'd be more of a descriptive of the city, so yeah.
I like it.
All right. So I'm gonna, any more discussion? I'm gonna make a motion to set a public hearing at 6:30 on March 12, 2026 for the consideration of proposed text amendments to the zoning ordinance, chapter 7, articles 4 and 13.
Support.
We got motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor with an aye?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Good deal. Oh, look at this, election of officers. That's what I figured everyone was staying in here for. I really thought everybody showed up for this part of this here, right here. I forgot how this run down. We make motions or we make recommendations and we vote on, right?
One person nominates, propose nominations, and then you make a motion to elect.
Okay, we start with what position?
You would do chair first?
Sorry, Chair.
Oh, sorry, it's right there.
Who
I
are
will
the current
say-
people? Other than Austin, who are the current people?
Doug?
Doug is vice chair and Jeff Patterson is secretary.
Okay,
Yeah. And Josh cannot be chair because he's on city commission.
okay. Are you guys good with keeping your positions?
If you guys so choose so, I am.
I would nominate the
Current
current position, people in the current position for those roles, those
Well,
positions.
Jeff, are you?
Slate of officers?
Current slate of officers. Any discussion? Or any opposed, I guess you don't?
I'll support.
Oh, sorry, we have a support. I guess all in favor of that nomination with an aye?
Aye.
All those opposed? Seeing none, motion carries, or,
I actually did it wrong.
I'm sorry, election
I
closed.
should have made the motion and asked that a unanimous ballot be
Ah,
cast, but I
okay.
did it wrong, so you got the gist of it right. Sorry.
We do.
Okay.
Okay, last item tonight, upcoming trainings and conferences. We talked about this one last month. It is in a few days, so let us know if you'd like to sign up. Planning and Zoning Toolkit for Inclusive Design, virtual training. And then this is a cool one. This is our old planner, Jason Ball, my old boss.
Oh, yeah.
Is leading one called Planning and Zoning Essentials, which is in person on March 18th for the afternoon at that Bavarian Inn Lodge in Frankenmuth. If someone did choose to go to that event, there is a second training after that I think could be really applicable for us, capital improvement planning. So that's following that Planning and Zoning Essentials from Jason, all day at the Bavarian Inn Lodge. For Planning and Zoning Essentials, there is a virtual option that I think one of our team members at Row will do, and then we can probably pass along materials if nobody ends up going. Yeah.
Good to see Jason's name up there. It'd be kind of good to go see him in front of a good group of people, eh?
Yeah, it sure would. Yeah, he's a great planner.
Is this something you can send to us?
Yeah, I
Because
sure
it's a
can.
good helpful
Yeah.
reminder for me, please.
Absolutely.
And like I always say, be a very good, just a follow-up email of all of our trainings,
Yeah, I apologize. I haven't
those are
done
much appreciated. Nothing wrong with that. Only thing I had was on the correspondence, I guess there's no correspondence. I was more interested on the Tommy's car washer. There's no movement on that.
No movement.
No.
'Cause that was a hot topic for a long time.
We've asked for updates a couple times and have gotten no response.
Yeah, I always say, they do the marketing, we're not the marketers. It's not like we're the one who decides that who comes into the city. They're the ones that do the marketing, so if the market's not there, they're not gonna build, no matter
He
what.
spent a lot of money on that site plan though, so.
We went, we
Yeah.
all know those pieces of property.
Right, yeah.
All right, we will go to commissioner comments. Commissioner Brady?
No comment.
Commissioner Patterson?
Thank you, Ben.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Kim. Good jobs.
Thank you.
Commissioner Atwood?
Yes, thank you guys for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson?
Not sure if anybody can answer this, but all this talk about, these subdivisions that don't get finished and the lighting and everything, I used to work at the DPW, and there was a lot of diligence, and Kim's gonna know about this, about covering our butts on this, and I don't know what happened with those projects. I know 2008 had a big impact on what happened in our whole world. So I don't know what the reason was, but there was avenues there to cover that. I don't, that just puts a pit in my stomach. I knew there was safeguards, and it wasn't right. So I don't know. Is there a definitive answer on that?
No, I couldn't tell you what happened to where it didn't go through. There was change in ownerships of things, and all we can do is try to fix it going forward.
Right. Because I just feel like it was a huge black eye to the city, and the director at the time was over the top on doing things right. And
I can tell you the planning department is really cracking down on site compliance.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of bonds.
Yeah, we did. I mean, from construction to the whole subs and everything, I mean, we had our butts covered. It was, so when it comes up like now, it's quite disturbing. I didn't know the lights weren't installed. It's too bad. Another topic.
Very dark in there, just so you know.
Yeah, wow.
It's hard for the kids to go trick or treating in that cell.
Not that it can't be done later, but why wasn't it done? I don't know. It's bizarre. What about the ice rink? What's going on with that? Anything? Is that dead now?
I think so.
Strange.
Dispute between the ownership group, internal in their group, and now I think they might be looking to sell it.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate.
That's it?
Commissioner Boston?
And thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you guys.
Absolutely.
He couldn't be below.
Did you skip over
No,
Doug?
he is the chair, vice chair.
Oh, you're gonna let him go last, too.
I go in order.
I just want to say that I thought, and again, I don't want to go by rumors, but I thought the issue was, back when they developed Brookwood, is that there was no building department at that time. It was actually the construction code authority that was actually handling some of that. And I thought, because there was an issue if there was no bond pulled for them to finish that road, and I thought it was based upon the construction code, not that I want to place the blame on somebody else, but I don't think it was the city necessarily. I think it was a different entity at that time because it was before we had a building department.
That could be.
It's very common when the issuer of COs is not in the same building
Yes.
as planning,
Yes.
that things like that happen, so I think that's valid.
That was about the same time
Yeah.
everything was going.
Yeah, I truly don't, I think the city wasn't the issue. I think it was just that
Yes.
different partner, yeah.
I don't know.
Yes.
But you good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm sorry. That's all I have.
Yep, Vice Chair Roberts.
Yeah, so I'd like to echo, you guys do the lion's share of the work. I appreciate that. I'm just, I'm happy to be up here. Welcome to Mr. Hang. I wasn't at the last meeting. Fortunately, I got pulled out of state. One of the things that kind of came to a head for me again today, and I had buried this in my mind for a couple years, but I'm back to it. It was good seeing Ann Shank and Janelle Racosta here tonight. It's my hope that moving forward that this planning commission can be very transparent about how we feel others are doing on this planning commission. Because they were, in my opinion, they were unceremoniously removed without explanation. And when I asked for explanation, I never got one. And when I asked who are we going to look at for the replacements, I was given no answer that was definitive. I think what we should be striving to do, if we really want the people to trust that we're making good decisions for them, is to be transparent with each other. And I don't think that took place. And that kind of came back to me today. The additions that took their spots, we didn't take a step backwards. I think we took a step forward. So this is in no way, shape, or form. It was just kind of how that was handled. And that still kind of sticks with me a little bit. I volunteer, right? And I think that we owe it to each other to, if there's disagreements that we're having about some policies, that we behave like adults and talk about it. That we don't form coalitions, because division is the worst thing in our country right now, right? We don't need it at the Lapeer level. And I didn't really mean to make this into a big thing, but Janelle was the reason I'm setting up here. She thought enough of me to ask me to do this. So I am going to exercise my right to voice my opinion on that. And, if I'm gone tomorrow, I just hope that you remember what I said. I think it's very important. So, but other than that, good seeing you.
Thanks. Mary?
Yeah, I think we had a very productive meeting tonight, and I really appreciate the public's input. I really appreciate all of the hard work and diligence that our staff puts into this. You guys even fetch the questions and deal with them before the meetings, and you have to spend time being professor to some of us. So thank you so much for that. And but yeah, I will second some of the comments that were recently made. Unfortunately, what we heard here tonight from the Brookwood residents isn't the only place in our city that things slip through the cracks. Two notable places where things were not finished by the developer of that time, regardless of what our relationship was with any building authority. One is another subdivision. Andrews Rivers never had things completed. And I just recently had my tires changed over at Bell Tire and noticed that their top layer of all of their roads is not complete. I understand there's some additional development that's happening today in some adjacent lots, but that doesn't excuse the fact that the roads weren't completed over there. So we're not even talking about residential areas, but we even have commercial areas that were let down for whatever reason. It's too late to point fingers, but we need to make it right moving forward. And I think we're on a good track. And I want to second the comment about just the transparency, and that's the goal. I wish we could add that to our goal, but I think we do a good job with that on this particular board, and some of the other boards can maybe look at this board and take notes, I believe. So thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I feel it's because you have a good, strong leader.
You should have started with that, Austin.
There you go.
Should have started with that.
No, thank you, you guys. One thing, there's no public here, and it kind of bums me out because you guys don't know, the last thing I want to do is gavel a person from the public. We do have rules that if nobody's going to watch this, I get that, I get it. But when you have a public hearing, you have time to speak. And the last thing, especially in a heated conversation about something that maybe you're not really like fully, looking at the big picture and just stepping back. The last thing I want to do is gavel anybody. And I almost had to for the second time in my career here, and I would have broke my heart if I had to do that. So, maybe I have too much emotion in that, but that's that goes along with being a good neighbor. My physical neighbor was in the audience today, and I guarantee you that he had no idea that I sat up here in this position. Yeah. So I guarantee you that now I'm going to have a conversation. But You know, we are all Lapeer City residents. Thank you guys for entrusting me for being up here. Thank you all for standing in your seats and everybody volunteering your time, because that's what we are. We're volunteers to the city of Lapeer. And I will call for adjournment. That's how I do it, right?
I think so.
All right, good deal. Oh, one other thing, you guys. Remember, you got your microphone's got to get turned on. I totally forget about that every single time. And it's the button up.
Mine was off. Nobody
You can still, you can still hear.
I never turned it on.
There's mics on those.
Yeah, you can still hear. Yeah.
I figured nobody wanted to hear me.
You're not going unheard, let me tell you.
And then that was 150 minutes.
So we're supposed to.
Oh, yeah, that was,
Honestly, I don't.
That's off.
we had a couple of them that would.
Yeah, mine was off.
You want to take that map? That was.
It's supposed to be not good color.
That was my.
different.
No, you don't have to say motion.
All you have to do is.
I can just call for adjournment. It's on the, it's on there. It's on the agenda.
I remember that.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So
whoever put the temperature up, man, you got it.
I'm gonna complain to the citizen.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. A lot of times when I ask questions, I get thrown, well, you gotta talk to the city. I've asked this before, this meeting.